Hello, good evening, and welcome. Happy Devil's Night. This is the movie discussion pocket dimension where time does not exist, and the only thing that matters is film. I'm Cole, and that is Jay. And yeah, we come to you the night before Halloween, known as Devil's Night, at least in some parts of North America. Although it's kind of we were talking about the other night how it's really kind of died off. It isn't around anymore, which is just as well, I guess. There was nothing really particularly notable about it except for arson and maybe petty crime. So, but yeah, since The Crow is one of my favorite movies, I always make a point of watching The Crow every Devil's Night. But I think there's quite a lot of people either of a certain age or lived in a certain place where The Crow is kind of what taught them about Devil's Night. That wasn't the case for me because I grew up in the 80s and 90s in the East, and to my understanding, like if you look it up Wikipedia or whatever, Devil's Night it was basically observed in the northeastern United States, particularly like Detroit and surrounding areas. And it was also in Canada, it was probably biggest in Quebec than anywhere else, but also to a certain extent the Atlantic provinces, not so much out west. And that's very much how I remembered it. It was probably dying off in the 90s, and then I think The Crow kind of revived some interest in it and stuff, and there were some, imitators and copycats and stuff. So I can remember like hearing stuff about Devil's Night fires in my hometown right up to maybe the end of the 90s. But anyway, nowadays I don't think very many people talk about it. And like I said, considering it doesn't really have much significance besides perhaps arson and petty crime, it's just as well. But it's just one more thing I can feel a bit nostalgic about, in that I remember the lead up to Halloween would also include a Devil's Night. I was too young to go out or even really be affected by it, which is just as well. I mean, shouldn't be going out there looking for trouble or messing with people that are going to start fires. But I don't know, and also because of The Crow itself, I always have a bit of a fondness for it. So I always recognize it and point it out when it happens, even though nowadays it doesn't really mean much, or it doesn't mean much to most people. What was the other thing? There was one other thing. Oh yeah, I remember a few years ago. It's funny, I brought this up a few times on the show. The show Criminal Minds had an episode called Devil's Night, and I was really excited about it. But it really wasn't much of anything. It did have a guy lighting fires, but I don't know. It wasn't very good. Didn't have the vibe I wanted. But I was like, well, at least somebody remembers. So, but I haven't looked up statistics or anything lately to know if people have been observing it or if there's been any fires or what. But I get the feeling that if they ever do make that remake of The Crow that I'm dreading, it'll bring it back, for good or bad.
They are remaking it, right?
I've been talking about remaking for like 10 years. I don't know.
I guess they did so many sequels. It's really no reason to remake it, but whatever.
The Crow is one series among many where I pretend no sequels happened. The Kuro is absolutely maybe at the top of those, where I in no way recognize the sequels and pretend they didn't happen, because it's just a massive drop off in quality, and it's not just because of the obvious thing not having Brandon Lee. I mean, there's way more than that, like the writing and stuff. But yeah, I'll watch that film later tonight after the show, because I always do. And in many ways, it's an improvement over the original graphic novel. I mean, you don't hear that often, but the truth is, it's different. I mean, they make it more cinematic, which is the point, because the graphic novel is kind of more just about the collection of feelings and grief, the stages of grief and stuff like that. And it has a story, and it's fairly bare bones. The story isn't really pumped up too much for the movie. The only thing is, what they do is they add some more characters, or they flesh out existing ones, like Top Dollar and guys like that. They're just much more memorable in the movie. They give them a lot more personality and stuff like that. I really like the cop is just sort of a stereotypical, cop, but Ernie Hudson is the cop. I think it's Albrecht is so cool. It's my favorite Ernie Hudson role. So with apologies to Ghostbusters, but yeah. So I mean, I guess I like them equally, but yeah, it's kind of a rare example of something based on a comic or a graphic novel where I think they actually made a lot of improvements. So I hold the movie in very high regard for reasons like that.
Yep. I believe this is our first Thai movie.
Yeah.
If I'm correct.
Right. Yeah. So to get into tonight's subject, a little continuation of last week where we finally did some Asian horror, where we did The Eye. This is one of probably the most well-known Thai movies in the West. One of the first Thai movies I ever saw, Shutter from 2004. I know this is a big favorite of our friend Orc, so this is one that I have in common with him. He and I don't always agree on what makes a great horror movie, but for this one, I think we agree. And this movie, has a lot in common as far as like some of the general sort of the general setup and some of the themes as the eye. Most notably, the idea that with some other way of like seeing, a person is able to like see beyond to the spirit world. And the eye, it's after getting the cornea transplant. In this, the idea is like the spirit in question is at first revealed through the camera lens, but then eventually over time, as maybe they grow powered, or the camera isn't needed necessarily to always see them. I don't know. Like, you know, these things have wonky rules, and you just have to kind of accept them. Otherwise, you're not going to enjoy anything. But and the other thing I'd say it has in common with the eye is one of the things that was most striking about the eye is that while it's, you know, it's a sort of a shocker or a horror movie, supernatural stuff with ghosts and jump scares, it does have a really strong emotional component to it. This movie, I think, does too. I think this movie has very sort of you know, another sort of sad, tragic story to tell, and makes a lot of emotional moments and points. Maybe not quite as much as the eye. The eye is a bit more somber and beautiful. This one's a little more dark and cynical, considering the way things end, which was more in line with the type of with a horror movie anyway. But yeah, so yeah, when most people I think of the Asian horror and the boom, they think of Japan and Korea right away, but we're going in the roundabout route. We started in China, now we're doing Thailand. But yeah, this is probably maybe the second Thai movie I ever saw. I think the first one I saw was Ong Bak, which I saw in theaters in 2003. I'm reasonably certain I hadn't seen any Thai movies before that.
I've seen a few. I don't know if I can think of all of them right now. What are some popular Thai movies?
Most of them are just actiony stuff, kind of like Ong Bak or The Protector. There's like crap. I was actually looking at a list and checking off some of the ones that I'd seen before.
I guess Ong Bak would probably be the most popular one, wouldn't it?
I think so. Yeah. And it was my entry point, and I think it was for a lot of people. And it actually was a Thai movie that got like a North American theatrical release for one thing. Maybe not wide release, but wide enough for me to have seen it. But I don't remember the circumstances of how I saw this movie. I know I saw it when it was fairly new. It came out in 2004, so I assume I probably saw it sometime in 2005, maybe early 2006. As I said last week when we were talking about Asian horror and it sort of catching on in the early 2000s, I was riding that wave too. So I might have rented it or something. I'm pretty sure I saw it with a friend. The Eye, I know for sure we watched like on the computer. As I said, I think it's one of the, maybe even possibly the first movie I ever saw like streaming, like, you know, not like a DVD or something like that. I think in the case of Shudder, it might have been something we rented, very possibly, but I can't try to remember. One of the good things about this was, while I've always spoken highly of Shudder and said I like it, the fact is I haven't seen it since all those years since. So I enjoyed it very much seeing it this time because I'd forgotten almost everything. All I really remembered was the basic plot, and I remembered that I had liked it. You know, I couldn't even remember that there was a car accident at the start. I mean, as I started watching it, things started to come back to me. But so yeah, I was delighted to find this is actually on Canadian Netflix. I wasn't even going to look. I was looking somewhere else, and then in an internet search, it showed on Netflix, and I'm thinking, well, I've seen this thing before. Because sometimes if you search for a movie and it shows up on Netflix, it'll take you to a page. But that either means, yeah, it's available, but not on yours, or it just meant it was there at one time. So I'm thinking, this would just take me to a dead link, you know? And I was like, oh, shit, I can watch this on TV. So I finally got some good luck on the Netflix runs there and was able to watch this movie on TV and get a nice full screen or widescreen experience and stuff like that. It looks a lot better than, say, The Eye.
It looked a lot better than The Eye, yeah. So you had seen this before, okay? For some reason, I was thinking you had seen this
many years ago when it was, you know, pretty much a new thing during the whole Asian horror boom and stuff. I'd seen it, and like I said, I always spoke highly of it. But I'm thinking, like, I never watched it again. I didn't really have opportunity to, and I'd forgotten so much of it. I just remembered sort of the general beats, but I'd forgotten a lot. Yeah, which is an advantage, really. Helped me enjoy it more.
Yeah, and this is Ork's favorite Asian horror film. He thinks it's better than Ringu and Kuro, which I don't know if I agree with, but
I like Kuro the best of the ones I've seen, but this is pretty up there.
Oh yeah, it's very good. It's when that boom, the Asian boom you're talking about, Asian horror boom, happened in the early 2000s. You really like check off the good ones like quickly. The ones that are more widely available are usually the better films
Mm-hmm.
on the list. So this is one of the ones I saw very early on. Like I may have even seen this before I saw Ringu for the first time because
I might have too. I'm not
Ringu
sure.
wasn't available over here for quite a while. Like I actually saw it like on demand through my cable company. I rented it when I saw Ringu for the first time. But this, I don't know if I rented it or I don't think I own it, but I think I may have rented first time I saw it. But yeah, it was very good. I saw this and The Eye and Ringu all around the same time. So and The Grudge and all that stuff. I was really into it.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, it was
and
really
then
breathing some, new life into the genre.
and then you see some of the stuff that's not so good coming out on the heels of that.
Yeah, that happens
Some
that happens with everything, I suppose.
some of it was good, some of it not so much.
Mm-hmm.
But in some ways, I could see how Ringu influenced this film a lot. Especially with a lot of the ghost stuff.
Sure, the image of like sort of an undead or dead woman
Mm-hmm.
with long hair, and
Mm-hmm. And some of the movement too.
yeah, that almost sort of became a standard.
How they film it in reverse or it's some sort of like almost like stop motion, but
Mm-hmm. I think all that was really influenced by way back, probably The Exorcist.
mm,
The Exorcist sort of started the whole thing of like weird, inhuman, jerky movements and stuff that's
mm,
been used ever since. But yeah, used to really great effect in Ringu and the remake, The Ring. Just this is funny because just like The Eye, this also had two different Indian remakes, one in the Hindi language and one in the other language that I don't know as much. That it's funny that they have a whole separate industry of that in India of the other language. It's not Bollywood. It's just I can't remember.
not Urdu.
No.
That's
Well,
Pakistan.
but anyway, so there's two different Indian remakes, and then there is the American remake, which also I've never seen. I've never seen the American remake, although as usual, people just say, "Well, don't bother. It's not nearly as good," which I can believe.
It's not nearly as good, but it's not bad. If you're gonna pick a an Asian horror remake, I would say that one wouldn't be too bad.
Yeah, I
But it
don't
is.
dislike The Grudge. There's just not very much to it.
Yeah, I saw The Grudge before I saw Ju-on, and I'm not really the biggest fan of either. I think
Right.
I may actually like the remake more. I don't think Ju-on's that great of a film.
No, it's something special.
Um, but yeah,
Well,
Josh Jackson, your Mighty Ducks buddy, is starring in the
that's
remake.
funny. I must not have seen it then, because I'm sure I would have remembered him. Yeah.
He's
Okay. So the Hindi one is the latest one. It came out in 2010 called Click. 2008 was the one with Joshua Jackson in 2008, and the first one in 2007 was called CV, and the other it's called Tamil or Timil. So that's like the other that's the other industry in India. It's the Tamil language.
I don't believe I'm familiar with that at all.
Based in the city of Chennai, Tamil Nadu, the hub of the Tamil film industry. Anyway, so that's the other side of India. Anyway, like I said, it's considered it's Indian cinema, but it's not Bollywood. It's separate. Because I'm pretty sure Hindi's the majority. I think the majority of Indians speak Hindi, and Tamil is more of a minority language. But not entirely sure, so don't quote me on that exactly. But that's my understanding from just some quick reading here.
Yeah, I feel really stupid. I didn't even realize they spoke another language.
Yeah. Sometimes it is referred to as Collywood.
Okay.
Because why not? But yeah, there's a whole thing on Indian cinema with all these different ones: Jollywood, Deccanwood, Mollywood, Tollywood, Coastalwood. Like holy crap!
Just put wood at the end and you're good.
Yeah, that's what she said. Sort of. I don't know. Does that work? Maybe not. I tried.
Sure.
I tried. So yeah, again, this movie has kind of a general sort of trope as far as that, as the spirit world suddenly, interfering with the main world and someone becoming aware of it somehow. And this, the use of the camera is kind of neat. Plus, the movie's interesting too because it shows you a little bit about photography. You know, we live in the digital age now, so if you can even be a professional photographer and not really know anything about developing film, because you don't need to do that anymore.
Exactly.
The people that develop film nowadays, they do it because they want to do it. You know, it's kind of like people that have an interest in vinyl. There's people out there, they have an interest in like film and developing film and negatives and all that stuff. And so this movie gives us that. We have a guy who's a professional photographer and he's got his own dark room and stuff. And I don't know, it does add something to it.
Yeah, it does.
Like the fact that they have negatives and stuff, because when he first gets the pictures developed at the place and the guy shows him that, he's like, you screwed up my pictures. He's like, he takes out the negatives. He's like, no, you screwed them up yourself. See, here are the negatives. And you see that the problem that he thinks he's seeing, the weird white mark, is actually in his original negatives.
Well, it's like, hey, kids, remember film? Hey, remember cameras? You know,
yeah.
it's kind of cool that I feel like this is probably like during the transition from film to digital.
Very much. Within 3 years, like almost everybody had a camera phone.
Yeah.
Probably, you know, around 2006, 2007, that's where pretty much everyone is getting phones that have cameras, and no one even talks about it anymore. It's funny, like, just like when you see commercials for phones nowadays, like, the big one that came out last, I remember because they were a sponsor of the NHL, so all through the playoffs was this phone called Huawei, and the commercials for that, you know, really high end and slick. They never really talk about it being phone. The whole point of the commercials to show off that it has a really advanced camera. Like, oh yeah, it's also a phone. You make phone calls.
Of course, yeah. You can call, you know, it works, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. But they more or less sold it as a camera because I guess it's a really high end camera. But yeah, that's the other thing. Like, we're old enough to remember times when people were like, "Oh, I wish I had a camera for this moment." Yeah. It's like you never have a camera when you need one. Well, now you always do. I guess.
Exactly.
We just take for granted that every experience we have can be photographed, even by ourselves, easily, even for like the most mundane things, right? I'm in a store and I'll like snap a picture of a bag of chips and send it to Ryan and be like, "Look at these chips," you know.
Yeah, but it's so easy to do, and it's I don't know. It kind of takes away a little bit. I mean, in my opinion, but you know, that's me from, you know, the prehistoric times. Like, it kind of takes away a little bit of the.
Well, it does, because it's not special anymore. You know, with a camera, it's something special you want to capture. You're making a point of using your camera to record this thing.
Yeah, but it's like you said, we document everything now. You know, like.
Yeah, so nothing's special anymore.
Like your memory, like, yeah, you don't need a memory anymore. It's, I don't know.
Although, I mean, one thing that's used in this movie to great effect that is still fairly popular is Polaroids. People like Polaroids. I see those little Fujifilm mini Polaroids. Yeah. I always think about maybe buying one. Then I'm just like, what the hell would I do with it?
Yeah, my kids have a couple. They have a lot of fun with them.
Yeah. But, yeah, this movie makes good use of that. The whole idea of the Polaroid, because there is no negative involved or in-between thing. He's just like, well, if you think there's a problem, try using a Polaroid camera. This movie has a little bit more of a substantial story than The Eye, which is why I like it a little more. Like, The Eye has a good story, but there's not a lot to it. This doesn't have a lot to it, but there's a bit more. There's a bit sort of piecing together kind of a mystery. I mean, it has a fairly well-used, I don't want to say tired, because, I mean, I use it too, trope in fiction, which is just the idea of sins of the past coming back to haunt a person. In the case of a supernatural horror movie, the haunt is literal. He's literally being haunted by the sins of his past. Our character, Tun. So we got Tun and his girlfriend, at least in the translation, or Jane, or whatever.
Was it Jane?
Yeah, Jane.
All right.
They keep them. I'm sure they had like the North American audience in mind, so just keep all the names nice and short, because as we were talking about before the show, like most Thai names are not short, and they're very difficult for like I think a lot of Anglophones and people from Western countries and stuff like that.
Oh man!
Like just look at the credits for this movie, and you'll see what we're talking about. As you said, even the director has quite the name on there. It's Virawat Unburang.
Yeah. So, yeah, I was getting ready to pronounce it too.
Say that 10 times fast. But yeah. What's great though, it's kind of confusing, is that Tun is our main guy. One of his closest friends is Ton. Like there's almost like no difference in their little shortened names.
Yeah, if it wasn't for subtitles, you would think it was the exact same name.
Yeah.
Ton.
Yeah. And if people are wondering about Tun and they think, hey, is he the Asian Orlando Bloom? Yeah, he kind of is,
Yes.
because he's only half Asian. His father was Australian, so that's why he kind of has that different
Really?
look to him, or maybe he doesn't look as fully Asian, because he's not. Yeah, his mom was Thai, his father is Australian. You can definitely tell. You can see it in him.
Yeah, he has a cool haircut.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, this movie's. I guess there's nothing entirely original about it, but I just think everything is really well done. Like, I really like seeing the spooky photographs, and they make a point of showing like them talking about how spooky photographs are always been a thing. That's a thing, and they go to like this tabloid that runs them all the time, and they talk about and they show how easily they can be faked. It's like, look, ooh, ooh, there's a ghost. So, and that's the thing, right? Like, I mean, you could see like 100 pictures online, and it's not going to make you believe in ghosts.
Mm,
I've seen all sorts of stuff, and I'm just like, it's fake. It's easy enough to fake. And they're like, well, this
sure.
one's from like 1875. I'm like, well, their cameras are really
Dang.
crappy, and who knows? Fake. Yeah,
Yeah, same with. I
that's
mean,
it.
the same with all that stuff. Bigfoots, UFOs. It's all. You know, it's too easy to fake, and for some reason,
Yeah.
people
So if
enjoy
something
doing it.
real actually
Yeah,
happened, I wouldn't even believe it. Like, you could show me like let's say Bigfoot was real, and you had a good photograph of him. You showed it to me, and it was really Bigfoot. He exists. I'd be like, whatever. There's another fake.
hmm,
Because it's the world we live in.
yeah, yeah. I followed some Bigfoot type podcast, and they say, even if like say it was 20 yards away, if you ever try to film something in the distance with an iPhone, it it doesn't pick it up very well. It's only like iPhone's only good for like close shots. You don't really have a good zoom on there, so if you zoomed in, it would just be all pixelated. So it would just be like a brown blob walking around. So
Yeah. I'm trying to think of one of the last things I actually saw. This would not be necessarily under the whole supernatural ghost thing, but trying to think. One of the last things I saw on MSN just a few weeks ago is I can't remember what it's called, but everybody knows the Loch Ness monster over in Scotland. Well,
mm-hmm.
Canada has one too.
Champlain? No.
No, this is out west. This is in British Columbia, and he has a really weird name because it's like I think it's like an indigenous name. It's like Pago Waga
Mm-hmm.
Mogo or something. It's really weird. But anyway, I saw just a little while ago like some family was like, I don't know, picnicking on the beach, and I don't know, they got shots of it, and it looked like it was like this giant snake thing. I don't know, can't remember his name, but yeah. So, and again, I'm looking at it, and I'm just like, I guess it could be real, but I'm like, fake. I don't
Is
know.
that is that the one that's like a giant eel? Like it just looks like a big eel thing.
Yeah, pretty much like a big sea serpent.
Canadian monster.
Yeah, it's like it starts with P. It's like Pogamogo, Pomo, Momo. There's like a G in there. I don't know.
Yeah, I know I've heard of it before.
Yeah,
You've heard
but
of no, Caddy was the one I was thinking of. As a uh,
oh, good.
cat,
Wikipedia has a list of lake monsters.
Cadborosaurus is what Caddy is, and that's in Canada.
Okay, so this is Ogopogo.
Okay,
That's pretty easy to remember. Ogopogo. He's in Okanagan Lake in British Columbia.
that could it be a less menacing name for a monster?
Ogopogo.
Huh. It's not even on this list I'm looking at.
Lake monster, British Columbia. First
Yeah,
seen by First Nations people since the 19th century. 40 to 50 feet long, sea serpent, resembling an extinct Basilosaurus or Mosasaurus. First Nation stories are not referring to a little organism, but instead a legendary water spirit. But they say that, but then, of course, there's a whole bunch of alleged sightings. Yeah, here they even added here. In September 2018, there were reportedly 3 sightings. One was described a giant snake that was 15 meters long. So they got that up pretty quick because, yeah, that's what I was looking at. It was just about a month ago. They were showing some pictures and stuff. Yeah, it looked like something, but who knows? There's a bunch of explanations for it.
yeah. I don't know. they say, you know, Loch Ness, probably the most popular water monster. That, you know, sure, it's deep enough, but there's not enough fish population to support something that large because it's not really dense like with fish and stuff.
Yeah, it would have something that large would have to eat a lot.
Mm-hmm. You know, sure, it's really deep. I think that's why Loch Ness is always like, sure, you know, there's a big monster in there. But
anyway, I always knew that Ogopogo was ours, or at least this part. There might be other Canadian ones. Let me check the list here, because apparently there's a whole list of them on Wikipedia. Oh yeah, there's a whole bunch of Canadian ones.
Yeah, go look at Caddy. Caddy's a cool one.
Lake Manitoba, Winnipegus, Crescent Lake. Oh wow, Crescent Lake. That's in Newfoundland. Cressy. That's that's original. Lake Ontario. Yeah. Anyway, Nova Scotia doesn't have one, which is too bad. I was thinking, what's the biggest lakes in Nova Scotia? Well, that's the Bredor Lakes back in Cape Breton, which would be very easy to really sustain something like that because I think I've said before, the Bredor Lakes technically aren't lakes; they're an inland sea system because they're salt water, and they do have a connection to the surrounding ocean. But alas, I grew up in Cape Breton, and there was never any talk or sightings of a lake or monsters. I guess you'd have to go to Ontario or Newfoundland to find one. Strange that there is a Quebec one, Meffre Lake Meffremog. Yeah. Yeah, he's more of folklore, much like the Loch Ness monster. Last seen in 2005. Yeah, Ogopogo is the one making all the news. But anyway, yeah, so the movie highlights kind of that sort of our fascination with things like that, of course. In this case, it's real. At least the ghost stuff. And, foreshadowing the ending, the what is he? He's like a professor at the college or something, says something like, well, perhaps the dead simply want to remain close to those who they love.
Right.
Which is kind of, and I guess that's the other thing you really remember about the movie. It has sort of a neat reveal that's really quite scary.
I think that's the best part about it.
And what's funny is I'd forgotten it, of course.
Oh, good.
But what happened was I was just checking something in the synopsis earlier on. Like I wasn't into spoiler as I was watching it. Because there was a line that I'd missed. I guess I would have noticed when I heard it. Because when he goes to the hospital at one point with the neck problem, yeah. I must have been looking away when they were weighing him and they told him his weight was too high. I didn't see that, but I read it in the thing. And as soon as I read the weight thing, I was like, oh shit, I remember. And it came to me what that was. But yeah, it's a really great reveal.
Yeah, I really feel like it's not. I mean, it's a good film, but once you know the reveal, I think it's not as much fun.
Sure, I guess. Yeah. But I don't know. As conventional as a lot of it is, it still works out for me. I think it's really effectively used. Just the images, even like the first one. Like usually when you see something, what they'll do is you see something, like the face looking at you, then you blink or you look away and then it's gone. But like the first one, it's the face that's turned, and he can always see it.
Yeah.
Like, what is that? Then for half a second, it turns and looks at him. Yeah. He's like, ah. And then it's not gone. It just turned back. It's still in the picture. It's still there.
Yeah, that was a good scare. That one got me.
Yeah, I have to give points to the ghost in question because she does a really remarkable job of not only effectively haunting, but also effectively providing clues about what happened. And that's really what I like about some of these movies. And like I said, that's my favorite thing about like Ring compared to Ringu is I like the clues. I like following the story and finding out what happened and stuff like that. Movies like that really hold my attention. Even if they're not great, at least they give me something to like keep me going. And that's why I think this movie's a little better than The Eye. Not that I have any problems with The Eye, but the story's a bit more substantial. There's a bit more mystery and stuff to grab onto. Mm-hmm. As I said, we get to find out because at first, and it does kind of a neat trick too, because it's almost a fake out with the car accident. It's like, oh, okay, they hit some poor woman, now they're being haunted by her spirit. But that's actually not what happens, which is cool because I think most people get taken in by that. I'm sure I did the first time I saw it. Probably.
Yeah, I'd forgotten that too. I thought that was her the whole time from the car accident.
Well, I guess it was her, but it was just to get their attention because
Right.
the whole thing was, there was no reports of an accident, nobody found a body. So she manifested herself, allowed herself to get hit, and that was her first way of getting their attention. And then she starts showing up. Maybe she wanted to fake them out. I don't know. But
yeah, because you've got Ton and his college friends, and it opens up at a wedding, right?
yes, it does. Ton is getting married.
Ton, yeah, is getting
Ton is getting married.
and Ton is like the most obnoxious, and he's quite ugly also, which is also bad. But
Well, that's how they usually do it in movies, right?
He's a fucking asshole too.
It's like, who's going to be the worst one? Well, you're the least handsome, so it's most believable that you're a jerk. No matter what country we're in, that's kind of how the world works. Actually, it's funny, completely unrelated to this movie. Just today, I mean, I hate to point it out, but it did make me think. Is that when I was at the grocery store, I happened to see a particularly ugly woman, and it just sort of struck me like how fortunate people are to not be ugly, just because of how hard the world can be just for being ugly. And it's very much true that like it or not, people who are attractive are treated better.
Oh yeah.
Period. Like even
Absolutely.
and I don't mean like supermodels. I just mean if you're better, generally better looking, wings usually generally better, work out better for you. And that's not just here. That's kind of the world over is how it goes. It's pretty much proven that. So I always sort of feel for people. I mean, one time, when I see somebody's particularly ugly, of course, first of all, I feel like a jerk. Because I'm just like, oh, they're so ugly and unattractive, and I feel like a jerk judging their appearance. But then usually I just sort of feel bad because I'm just like, man, it must be hard to go through life like that when the world is so shallow and terrible, including me. Because here I am, but I mean, who knows? I was thinking it, not fucking saying it. Maybe everybody in the store was thinking the same thing, But at least most people are, they're not going to point it out or anything like that. This leads me to a different tangent, which has nothing to do with anything, but I might as well point it out since I'm on it, that always bothered me. Like 99% of people know it's like rude to like point out if like somebody's fat. Like you don't just go, "Whoa, you're fat," You wouldn't do that. But people think it's completely okay to do it if you're thin or skinny. Like in my earlier 20s, I was basically underweight, which isn't good, and people loved calling attention to it as if they thought it wasn't rude at all. Because I'm just thinking if it was reverse. Like, if I was overweight, would you be saying, whoa, you're such a fat ass? Like, no, you wouldn't. I know you wouldn't. I remember I was at the fucking hospital once, and a nurse talked about it. She didn't mean from health. She said something about, boy, are you ever skinny? I'm like, Jesus, lady. And the other flip side of that, too, is sometimes people pointing out how pale I am. You would never talk about how dark somebody is, but how pale somebody is, apparently that's completely fine, too. Like, you can be like, wow, you look sickly and pale. And it's not at all, rude for me to say that, apparently. So I've always had that little annoyance. Well, our society is just like, I don't know. I'm not saying I think you should be able to call people fat. I'm just saying I think it should be equal. People know better than to just point out that somebody's fat. So I think you should know better than to point out if someone's skinny or something like that. I think that's really rude. Plus, people don't like being referred to as skinny because, thin, slim, whatever. But skinny, yeah, that's kind of like the reverse obese. That means there's something wrong with you.
Right.
People, women aren't attracted to skinny men. Men might be attracted to skinny women, I guess, but that's more of a fake stereotype. I mean, nowadays in society, I think people are really embracing curves, which is great, I guess. Although, you feel that some of the women that are just sort of small and not as well endowed get lost in the shuffle because everyone talks, well, it's great now, we're not fat shaming people and stuff like that. No, I guess you're not, but at the same time, you're kind of saying like if you don't have like this sort of bust or this ass, then you're not attractive. But anyway, I've really gotten us off track here, but sometimes I think about those sort of things.
Yeah. And if you're having a problem with body dysmorphia, call 617-726-6766.
Yeah, we'll put the number up there. But I just mean, yeah, in general, it's a tough thing to go through life with some sort of physical thing.
Sure. Well, I mean,
it shouldn't dictate who you are, and yet, so much of the world tries to make it so that it does, right?
Yeah. I mean, people grow up today thinking that, I guess women in general, I mean, boys and men too, but
sure,
that a size like 1 is like normal. or 0 isn't normal. And like if you're a size like 2 or 3, you're fat. And it's really messed up because I mean, you know, the women are different, whatever. Not everybody can be a size 0, like, and you know, live, you know. So
How they do sizes is ridiculous anyway. I've said this before. Like, almost all my t-shirts are large. That
yeah,
doesn't seem right. I'm not, you wouldn't, like, in the context of human beings, I'm not a large person
yeah,
at all. And yet, you know, a medium would be way too tight on me. I don't have a broad shoulders and barrel chest or anything, and yet I need a large, which makes it sound like I'm large, which obviously I'm not.
yeah. I mean, maybe that goes back to people that are bigger than they used to be. Like you look at 200 years ago, like we both probably have to duck to go in a door, you know.
Oh yeah, people in general are taller and stuff like that. For
So
sure. I don't
yeah.
even know what the explanation is for that.
Nutrition.
I guess that's some of it. Yeah,
I think
that's a good guess.
it's really not enough time for evolution to make us taller people.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Like evolution takes way longer than that.
But I
So
mean, I
maybe
don't know.
maybe you're right. Maybe it suggests that people always had the potential to be particularly
Mhm.
tall, but yeah, there were factors that kept it from happening. So that's a good point. Which explains why, like even you know a couple thousand years ago, there's still the odd really tall person here and there.
Yeah, I mean, the tallest guy ever was like he died like in the 20s, right? So
Yeah, I remember.
he had like a pituitary gland problem though.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Once you get into the really tall or really short,
Mhm.
they're you know they're not.
He was like 8 feet something, like
He
like
was like
almost 9 feet
yeah,
tall.
he was like well over 8 feet. He was like
Yeah,
8'6" or
yeah.
something. Crazy.
Like
Speaking of like the 20s, like the most interesting guy was around that era too. Was a guy that in his childhood until he was about 19, he was a dwarf. And then he got to be over 7 feet tall. He's the only person in recorded history to be both a dwarf and whatever a person over 7 feet tall is
wow.
considered.
So that's got to be some sort of a
No, he
brain problem, right?
yeah, it's something. I can't remember his name. It's really interesting. One of the things I can't remember, but I read his article on Wikipedia, you know, ages ago through you know some happenstance and stuff like that. There's one part of it is dedicated to like speculation about his penis because I guess there's no like photographs of it or anything. So I can't remember there's a word for like having like a penis that is like you know proportionally bigger than your body would be
Mm-hmm.
like that it so it like just it would just look really big compared to the rest of you like and there was speculation that he had that but they were just like well maybe it was just like people not really seeing it because he went from so small to so big. I don't know, it was really funny. The Wikipedia like was making a point to like talk about how big was this guy's dong.
We got to
Yeah.
see pictures of that.
Yeah, and there weren't pictures. Is the problem, right? There weren't pictures of that, so they're just like, we can only speculate what
What
the junk situation
what if it
was.
didn't grow at all? What if it stayed the same, like just like a
But
micro
that is,
penis?
but that is the other thing about penises with humans is that they don't really work in a proportionate way.
Right.
You could be over 7 feet tall, and it doesn't mean you have anything bigger than someone who's like 5'9".
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, Orc says it's called BBC.
very technical.
Let's get down to brass tacks. We're talking about penises.
Yeah,
Um,
forget the movie. I gotta get into this.
oh, man.
But I don't know. I just think this movie has a lot of really cool, effective scenes. I like the idea that it takes a while to put together what a lot of stuff means. Like, because some of the original photographs aren't very scary. They just have like a white mark. And you're just like,
Mm-hmm.
well, that's weird, but why is that scary? Then you find out that it's pointing to the room where
Mm-hmm.
she had been sexually assaulted and stuff, which is pretty cool.
Which yeah, that's the big reveal or one of the big
Sure.
reveals that
Yeah. Well, yeah. There's
it
two
was.
reveals. One, first he reveals, yes, I did know this girl. I even dated her.
Mm-hmm.
But he holds back, you know, exactly how things ended and stuff. She's well cast too, because the whole idea is she's supposed to be sort of awkward and weird. She's kind of a mysterious looking person. Well cast in that regard. Like, you know, she's one of those people that's pretty enough from some angles, but she can like sort of do like a blank face and stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. What do they
Yeah.
call her? They called her Natra. which is which they would call net, I think, in the subtitles.
She didn't deserve to be raped in the computer commons area.
She what?
I said she didn't deserve to be raped in the computer commons.
That was one part where I thought like it was kind of weird. Their not justification, but the whole thing is okay. So he's broken up with her. She's acting all psycho and stuff like that. He's being really bad about it, and his friends are like, "Oh, we can handle this. We'll just harass the shit out of her." I guess was their plan. And then, like, while they're harassing her, she hits one of them and hurts him, and then he's like, "That's it. We're gonna rape her, right?"
It's so on now.
So then Tun comes in to see this, and they think the only way to keep her from talking is for you to take pictures, which kind of seems weird to me. Because that's what they say, to keep her from blabbing or something like that. And I'm thinking, so you're saying if she blabs, now we'll give her physical proof of it?
Yeah.
That seems really odd to me, but I guess they just felt like, I don't know, the logic doesn't exactly hang together there. Now, I know obviously that yes, in a lot of cases, right up to this day, there's a lot of shame and embarrassment on the part of the victim. That you shouldn't feel that way, but people do, and that's why they sometimes don't come forward and tell the story. They're worried about not being believed or all this other stuff, or all the victim blaming stuff, like it's your own fault somehow, you should, et cetera, et cetera. But in this case, it's just like, I don't know, it just seems weird because they're saying like photographic evidence. We'll take photographic evidence of this, and that will be our way of ensuring you don't tell on us. That will be our insurance. That just felt a little odd to me. But I guess they had to make Tun complicit in some way. And they're like, well, he's a photographer. Plus, she needed to actually see the pictures to find out, because the whole thing is Tun had taken the photos. He hadn't gotten them developed, but he hid the negatives. And then Jane, through the other photos, is led to the bookcase where he's hidden, and she develops them herself. So,
yeah, I guess it's just a way to make the photos come full circle, to make it all about photos.
Right. Yeah, the photos really are what hold the plot together. So I do think, I wouldn't call it weak or even a plot hole. I would call it slightly questionable, but for the sake of the story, I understand why. So it's not going to make the whole thing fall apart on me or anything like that.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. It doesn't make sense, but I guess from their perspective, they're making it look like consensual sex, maybe to look like.
I guess so, but he's taking pictures with two of them like holding her arms, right?
That's the only thing I can think of is.
That's a bit of a hard sell,
That's the only logical thing I can think of why they would want pictures of it, to prove that,
to make it look like she's with a bunch of guys, and here's the here's the shame. Look at the slut. She's with like 3 guys.
He's into it.
Yeah. But anyway, it's not a huge problem, and as I said, I understand why they do it. And it's to keep the plot to hold together, so it works well enough.
If I've said it once, I've said it 100 times. Guys, don't photograph your gang rapes. It's just not a good idea. Oh man.
Yeah, it'll keep you from going to the Supreme Court or whatever, or maybe it won't. Man. Topical, very zing. But oh yeah, and they visit the mother, and the mother still has her like decomposed body. That's pretty freaky.
Yeah, that is freaky.
It's weird too, like the way they follow it up. Like everybody's actually a lot calmer than I expect them to be. Like they're like, "Holy shit, her like decomposing body is in the bed," and the mother just comes in and it's like, "What's going on here?" And then it just cuts to them downstairs having like a frank discussion about it.
Having some cake and some tea.
Or just sitting down. She's just like, well, I didn't want to cremate her. And they're like, yes, of course. Makes sense. I get it. She's already kind of unhinged and you don't want to upset her further. But I'm just a little surprised that they managed to keep it together so well. It's like, yes, of course. Your daughter's rotting corpse is in her bedroom. Well, that's funny too. Like sometimes I don't know if it's the language difference and the translation, but some of the lines they say seem a little odd and off, because then like after that, when they're talking to somebody else that lives in the village or whatever, I can't remember exactly what it was, but remember he says something like after she committed suicide, he says, oh, the mother went a little crazy. I'm thinking, yeah, she went a little crazy. He's like, nobody wanted to talk to her. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, a little crazy, sure. because of course, yeah. So in the aftermath of this, Ned has committed suicide by jumping out of a window, and that's what's happening to Tun and the other friends that had been part of the rape. Tun's the only one we see it happen to. Because
Right.
yeah, he comes to the apartment. He's saying like the pictures. It's like, what pictures? What are you talking about? And then he just sort of without mumbles and butters, and he jumps out the window. But then it's when they're at his funeral that Tun's now widowed wife says, "Didn't you know the other two committed suicide too?" It's like, oh man, the dots start to get connected a little bit. But this movie doesn't really make a point of saying anything about suicide the way The Eye does, where they talk about people being caught in a loop, or about it being the ultimate sin. Of course, that was a Chinese movie. This is a Thai movie. Although at the same time, you have to remember one of the main characters, although they're already dead when the movie starts, is Thai in The Eye, because she got in the eyes from the Thai girl. But anyway.
And it was frowned upon there as well.
Mm-hmm. Very much so. And there's a couple scenes that are kind of like fake outs that I can take or leave. Those scenes where something really bad seems to be happening and then they just sort of wake up. They do that, I think, twice. It's not terrible. Some of them are quite scary, but then they don't go anywhere. Like there's a part where he thinks he's at the school and the big lecture hall is empty except for Jane. He goes down to talk to Jane. And it's a really great moment because not only is she, she's like, blood starts, coming out of her mouth, because teeth start coming out with the blood. I think that was a really great added touch. And it's like, and then of course when she turns, she's looking at him with her eyes rolled back and blood coming out. But then he just, wakes up. And Jane has one of those too. She has one of those fake outs where she's, I don't know, doing something happens, and then boom, she wakes up somewhere. And I get it. They're just sort of leaving it to the audience to decide whether or not it happened and they passed out, or if they just dreamed it because of what's going on, or if the manifestation ghost can actually make them have those dreams, So I get it. There's a certain amount of ambiguity. You can decide for yourself exactly how it happened or if it happened. Sure, why not? What's funny is this movie does not have sequels.
Yep, I don't believe so. It's remade quite a few times, but
yeah, I mean, just so many of these movies, Asian or not, usually get multiple sequels, even if they have nothing to do with the original. We see it all the time, and yet this movie has not.
Yeah, they made like 4 or 5 Ringu sequels.
Mm-hmm. And they made 4 The Eyes,
mm-hmm.
And I saw a really bad movie, I think it's from 2011, a few years ago, and I would not recommend seeing it. It's not a sequel or anything, but it's kind of similar. It's a movie called Skew, and it's really terrible. And it's kind of like a found footage type movie. But the idea is like, I don't know, it's like a guy and his girlfriend and then their other friend or something like that. Anyway, I think they just find like some weird camera. And the whole thing is like when you look at people through the camera, you'll see like, I don't know, like ghostly apparitions, or their face will get all swirled or something. And then like soon after that, they'll like die in some way. Which, sounds okay, but it was not really a good movie at all. And what the thing that really annoyed me about it was, like, once they sort of started to figure out what was going on, they interpreted it in a way that I wouldn't have. In that they thought the camera was causing it. They were like, don't point that at me, everybody you see dies. Because my understanding was just the camera doesn't cause things to happen. It just reveals to you what's going to happen. That's the way I understood it. But the movie just... But that's the way the characters interpreted it, and it made it seem like the movie wanted you to think that too. So maybe they thought, oh yeah, it's a camera of death. Whoever you point at, they're going to die. I don't know. Anyway, it was shitty. It's just another, really forgotten sort of found footage type movie.
Like the camera was haunted.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen something like that.
As I was watching, it wasn't until they even said it that it occurred to me that way. I wasn't thinking that at all. I wasn't thinking the camera was haunted. I was thinking it's a weird camera, and it allows you to see impending death or disaster. I didn't think it caused it. And I guess you could say, well, that's good. The movie doesn't make a point of saying one or the other, but they kind of drive it home that it is because of the way the characters are all act. They all act freaked out by the camera. I'm not saying you wouldn't be freaked out by the camera. I don't. Anyway, it's not a good movie, and I certainly have no intention of revisiting it. It was crap. And it's another one of those sort of like found footage that has no reason to be. You know, it's like three people on like sort of a road trip, and one of them just happens to be filming everything for some fucking reason.
Yeah. Those have kind of run their course, haven't they?
Oh, I thought they
You would
did like
think.
years ago, but I don't know. As it is with most things, I don't think it's impossible to, you know, come make a new found footage movie that's pretty good. But yeah, this 2011. This is like right at the height, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I know I'm kind of biased. I don't even know if it's a genre or whatever you want to call it. I know I am kind of biased against them because I just think that it's so limited. I just think it's really limited.
Well, like, what did you think about like Cloverfield?
Never saw it.
Oh, really? Okay.
I mean, I've seen little bits and pieces of it, and I don't like that herky-jerky stuff. Like, there's too much running and panic. Like, the whole point of the movie is, like, it's so point of view that you don't get to see things the way you want to see them. They'll be like, oh, shit, what was that? And they'll hear, like, a roar, and they'll, like, flail the camera around. It's like, well, I don't know, because I can't see it. You know, so, you know, I have no interest in Cloverfield. The only reason I saw the sequel was because it wasn't that kind of movie. The one with John Goodman, like,
Oh, yeah.
That's just a normally filmed movie, so I could handle that. I didn't particularly like it, but, you know, I didn't have that problem going in.
Yeah, it wasn't found footage, was it? It was just standard.
Yeah, standard.
Yeah, I wonder what they'll do with that series. I wonder if they'll do any more.
I know they made a straight to Netflix one that's always been there that, again, I have no interest in.
Paradox or something like that?
Yeah, the Cloverfield Paradox. I don't know if it involves time travel or aliens or, I don't know, something like that. And I'm not against those things. I like movies with those things. So I'm not even saying that's a problem, but I'm just saying I'm not interested.
It's almost like a story that's going on at the same time the Cloverfield monster is attacking.
Ah,
That's
I
what
see.
it is. So it's like in the same universe, but really nothing to do with the monster.
That's weird.
Yeah.
That seems weird. I mean, again, maybe it makes sense if you watch it, so I can't comment, but it just concept sounds odd.
It's a weird concept, yeah, but I mean, I guess it makes sense, you know, but it's just an odd direction to go when I just want to see more of the monster. Call me crazy.
Yeah, sure. But, I know what the monster looks like. It looks pretty cool. You know, it wasn't just like a ripoff of Godzilla. It was something different.
Mm-hmm. And that was Bad Robot Guy. Lost.
J.J. Abrams?
Yeah, J.J. Abrams. Yeah. I don't think he directed it. I think they produced it, and Bad Robot produced it. But yeah, I had a few friends that actually like got sick, like motion sickness during that movie.
Yeah,
which I guess is common. I've never had a problem with that, thankfully. Never been seasick.
Would. But I mean, there is more to say about this film. I mean, again, this is a horror movie that's not particularly deep.
Yeah.
Although it's certainly effective. I like the music. The opening sequence is very nice. They do a little bit with, you know, photos being developed. You know, they show. It's kind of cool because it's, you know, typical standard photos of people being happy and stuff, but it's got the sinister music playing over it, and they dip it in the liquid and stuff. It's kind of it's a fitting sort of opening sequence for this side of movie that I like. Sets the mood right off the bat.
This was the biggest budget film in Thailand in 2004, or biggest box office hit in 2004.
Yeah, it made almost $7 million.
So, pretty good.
It's very well known. Like I said, it's one of the most well known Thai movies outside of Thailand, and it's also very well known in Thailand. My Thai girlfriend, I told her that I'd seen the movie this before we were doing anything like that, and she'd seen it too. And I think seeing it is what has turned her off horror movies entirely. Because, you know, I was talking about, you know, watching horror movies this week, and she said how she's too scared of them and stuff like that. And I was like, but I thought you saw Shudder, and she's like, yeah, and that was enough for me.
Yeah.
So I guess that makes a good point.
I can get it. It's pretty effective.
Yeah. Plus, it's also effective in a way because I think it's something that's very relatable in a way. We all think we've seen maybe something in a photo, you know. The movie even makes a point of talking about that. How in the real world there are plenty of photos that allegedly, supposedly have ghosts or some other such supernatural force in them. And while most of us don't believe it, there's still at least some people that are just like, that could be real. Well, give me an explanation and stuff. So it has that going for it as well. I kind of want to see Click now.
Mm-hmm.
Not the other Indian one and not the American one, but Click came out in 2010, which is quite a few years later. So I wonder if they make a bunch of changes to it or what. It was a box office flop.
Huh. It sounds familiar, but I think I'm thinking of like an Adam Sandler movie or something.
Yeah, there is an Adam Sandler movie called Click with like a magic remote. I didn't see it, but yeah.
Oh, it sounds awesome.
I don't know. I did not like his special. Speaking about Adam Sandler, it was just a bunch of half-assed songs, and there was one song towards the end was a very nice, emotional, heartfelt tribute to Chris Farley, which I thought was nice because I'm a Chris Farley fan, and plus also, for all the shit I talk about Adam Sandler, he was, Chris Farley's friend. We all remember Chris Farley fondly. We like him, blah blah blah, this or that. But I mean, the truth is, we didn't know him. Adam did. They were friends. So I realized that it was very genuine and heartfelt. So I appreciate that. But no, I didn't like anything else about the special. It was just
Chris Farley's been dead for like 20 years, right?
Like 21 years, maybe.
Wow.
I think it was 97.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's so sad because you think of what he could have gone on to do more cool stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think he really was being typecast, and he knew it.
Yeah.
But, yeah, what do you do?
Might not have lasted forever, though.
That's true.
I mean, we especially with now, we never know because we also see comedians go on huge declines, Eddie Murphy, but also like we've also seen other comedians like as they get older be able to break away from typecasting and even do more dramatic stuff. Now, I think Chris Farley was he was never gonna like Jonah Hill it. He wasn't gonna, start doing really serious dramatic stuff. I don't think that was in him or his thing, but I don't know.
Yeah, I just don't really know. I mean,
I really would have liked to have seen Shrek with him as Shrek, as it was originally supposed to be. Not that I have any problem with Michael Myers as Shrek and his whole idea with the Scottish accent. I mean, I guess, sure. But, you always wonder.
Yeah, you say Eddie Murphy, but, man, he made a ton of money off of that movie, and so did Mike Myers.
Yeah.
Those movies
But I mean, those are the last. But I just mean, in Eddie Murphy's case, and maybe even Mike Myers' case too, they're kind of like the last relevant movies either of them did.
I mean,
and I'm not, diminishing that.
I mean, God, I can only imagine how much they made for those movies. Like, they did so well.
Mm-hmm.
They did like Disney numbers,
I've only seen the first one once. I thought it was super overrated. Loved the second one. Loved it. Thought it was great. And really disliked the third. Never saw the fourth.
I think I've seen all of them.
What's even going on in the fourth one? Isn't that like they make like an alternate reality or something?
He has kids. Is that it?
Yeah, but isn't the whole thing in the fourth one like he has like imagine some world where he doesn't or something? I thought that was what was going on in the fourth one. Like some sort of spell like shows him what his life would be like if he hadn't had kids, or I don't know, something fucked up like that.
Yeah, you're right.
The third one's really bad. That really made me mad. That's why I didn't even bother with the fourth one. The third one like it was really trying to push like Justin Timberlake as a big star at the time. So we're just like, yeah, let's make it all about his dumb character. But still, I really love the second one. I'll always love the second one. I think it's really great. It's also got really good music used very effectively. I've never revisited the first one, but I remember, the first one came out and it was, everybody loves Shrek. And it was all these, and you always hear the same things from people that don't watch movies, so they don't know anything. Because they're like, it's really great because it's good for kids and it's full of stuff adults could appreciate. I'm like, you're right. There's never been a movie in history before Shrek that did that. Good job. And then I finally saw it and I was like, yeah. But I think the second one was pretty excellent. It had a lot of really good jokes. There's a great part where, like, towards the end, where in the climax when they have the giant, when they're attacking the castle to do the big rescue and stuff, and they're playing, holding out for a hero and all this, and they've got the giant gingerbread part And there's a part where like he's about to step on a Starbucks, and all the people run screaming out of the Starbucks as he steps on it, and they run directly across the street into another Starbucks.
Oh, that's funny.
Like stuff like that was funny.
Oh yeah, there was always some good stuff in there for the adults. Yeah, Shrek 2 did 441 million.
Wow.
And that was the best.
The only one I saw in theaters, and it's probably the only one worth seeing in theaters. I really liked it.
Then part 3, then part 2, then Forever After. I mean, Forever After still did 238 million.
Yeah. Very profitable.
I'm not saying.
I have no doubt they'll make another one.
Puss in Boots was in 2011. That one only did 149.
Yeah, the spin-off.
But I don't know what the budgets are. I would imagine they're pretty high.
They're pretty high, but then again, like a fully CG movie is still going to be less than most live action movies that have the same things happening.
But I mean, I'm sure Eddie Murphy and Mike Myers both, they probably got
20 million.
Percentage. I mean, they probably got a percentage on that.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, shoot, I hope. I mean, Mike Myers he's widely known as a guy that's pretty hard to work with. I mean,
yeah, I believe it, I guess.
It's so many stories on that Love Guru film.
And that's such an awful film.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. But
yeah, well, I wouldn't have seen it. I watched it for one reason and one reason only. There's a fictionalized version of the Leafs winning the cup, and that's the best I'll get to see. There's the Leafs winning the cup in a fantasy world. It's awful. It's worse than it's worse than I'm selling it. That's how bad it is.
You've told me. Yeah, you've told me about that before.
Like you could put it on and watch it for 5 minutes, and you'd be like, ugh. Like 5 minutes would probably be enough, honestly. Like it's so full of him just like farting and making weird faces and. Fucking awful. It has some decent hockey choreography here and there, but so what?
They came back and did some Wayne's World stuff for him and Dana Carvey got back together for I don't know if it was the reunion show that they did on Saturday Night Live or for some commercial or something that they did some more skits.
I saw them do like recently. I saw them do this like 5 years ago or something.
Is it only okay? Yeah, maybe
I can't remember. I can't even remember what's going on. But there is a good part where they say something about like school or parent. Yeah, like Dana Carvey says something like about his parents or something like that, and the guest whoever was with goes, "Parents?" It's like, "How old are you anyway?" And Dana and Garth goes, "It's never been determined," which I thought was actually a pretty good line.
Yeah. But that was still funny. I mean, they're still good together. So, yeah. I was never the biggest fan of Wayne and Garth.
No, me neither.
But
it's not really the audience for it.
I mean, I liked SNL, at that time quite a bit, but not that particular skit. I didn't hate it, but it wasn't always.
I mean, that generation is really what shifted SNL to youth culture. Because in like the 70s and 80s, a lot of them weren't that young,
right?
And they weren't always like talking about it. Like the big breakout star when the show started was, even though he was only there for a year, was Chevy Chase. He was 32 years old. He
was only there for a year, really? Wow.
Yeah. Because talk about notoriously difficult to work with. Do the whole thing about Chevy Chase, and it all worked out for the best because he was replaced by somebody even better, at least in most people's opinion, in Bill Murray. And then, like the first time Chevy Chase came back, he and Bill Murray got into a fight backstage, which is hilarious. To me.
Is this after Caddyshack? That's before Caddyshack, right?
I don't know. It's whenever the first time Chevy. It's probably before Caddyshack, because I mean Chevy left in like 1976, so that's like 3 or 4 years. So it's the first time he came back to like host or something like that. Wow. They actually got in a fight. Who knows what was said? But I mean, everybody knows. Like I like Chevy Chase, I do, but he is a notoriously mean and petty person.
That's what I've heard.
Like he's self-aware, but at least the one thing I'll give him, he's self-aware enough to admit it. A lot of these people that are like that, like they have no self-awareness. They have no fucking clue. They just think they're a delight.
Have you listened to Dan Harmon has played some of his voicemails that he left, when he was on Community?
No, but I guess he was really mean there too, wasn't he? That's why he left.
They're like drunken texts or
I remember like one. I didn't hear them, but I remember reading a few of them. And one of them was just like like he was a hack, and it was just like some average piece of shit sitcom without him. Like Chevy Chase was what elevated it. I'm thinking you're like the least interesting character. Like he's okay. Yeah. I like his character, but I mean, he'd be pretty far down my list of characters I liked on that show. You know, he was just there. He was just there for the weakest stuff. You know, I think Community was good in that it was mostly clever and it was mostly original and didn't really rely on hacky stuff. But when it did, it was kind of Chevy Chase. It was just like, insert old guy line here. Like, he's old and he's going to say what he wants to say, or you wouldn't expect an old guy to say something like that, which is the whole entire basis for that show that Betty White was on.
Oh, God, no.
Hot in Cleveland?
Yeah.
Because it'd be like, blah, 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 the three women, and then Betty White would come in and say something scathing, like something, you know, but it's like, oh, she's 90-something, and she said that. It's just like, it would be like somewhat funny if somebody else said it. But since Betty White said it, it's hilarious, you know? That's the entire show. That's what it's built around. Watch any random episode, all the best jokes are Betty White's, and most of them aren't even good jokes. They're just elevated by the fact that it is Betty White saying it. It's like, oh, she said that, you know?
She's so old.
Yeah, she's so old. She doesn't care because there's stuff about her like smoking pot and, you know, all a bunch of bullshit stuff like that, or talking about like, I don't know, sex, you know, things, you know, that people don't equate with the old people, right? Oh, it's so like an old woman making a sex joke or whatever. I don't know. It's this close to like rapping granny stuff.
Yikes. Yeah, I agree though with it.
Speaking of Adam Sandler's chest of talents, he reaches into the old stuff, which is pretty bad.
Did he have Lunch Ladyland in there?
Yeah, he makes reference to it in the song about Charlie. As he sings the song, he's got like a video screen behind him showing pictures and stuff, and he mentions that. Yeah.
Meatloaf sandwich.
Yeah, you can probably just watch the song. It's like the second last song. And the last song he does is also heartfelt, but I don't give a shit. Because even though I get what it means, because it's the song that he did in Wedding Singer, Grow Old With You or whatever like that, and he dedicated to his wife. And at first I was like, what? You're bringing up some old song from a movie from forever, dedicating your wife. Until I realized that the timing lines up, because he says he's been with his wife 20 years ago. I'm thinking, oh, maybe you did write that for her and then put it in the movie. So I guess that's kind of nice, I guess. But again, those aren't funny. They're just sort of heartfelt. The stuff that's supposed to be funny is just bleh.
Well, it's his special, and he's already in a contract with Netflix, so they can take it or leave it. You know?
No, it's certainly better than the original Netflix movie of his I tried to watch like a year ago. The first one was called The Do-Over. That is horrendous, man. Like, this isn't horrendous. This is just half-assed, and you're like, who cares? No, don't watch it. Like, there's nothing to get out of it. I think I've already told you about the threesome from hell that movie has.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my God, it's disturbing. See, I don't see why just trying to be disturbing is supposed to be funny. For instance, one of the things that happens in this special is there's a part where he and Rob Schneider, like, mimic 69ing each other. Like, the audience goes crazy for that, but I'm just thinking, okay,
why?
It's just part of this song about astronauts fucking or something. It's weird, like, it's a song about being up in space as an astronaut, and then, like, suddenly Rob Schneider appears, like, hung from the ceiling in a full cosmonaut suit.
That guy's been on his coattails.
I know. And, of course, it wouldn't be Rob Schneider without a terrible accent, so, of course, he's a Russian cosmonaut doing a bullshit accent, yeah. Because it's funny, because I think there was one point during the show where I'm thinking, where's Rob Schneider? And then, like, 5 minutes later, there he is. Like, I was being sarcastic with myself. I was making a sarcastic quip to myself. And it turned out I didn't know the half of it, because there was Rob Schneider.
Real Rob. I've heard that show is terrible.
I would not be surprised at all.
That's also a Netflix show, I believe.
Sure. I remember, like, 3 or 4 years ago, like, they made some really good, like, Netflix exclusive stuff. And I used to think that meant quality, but that's all gone out the window. Like,
it's so
there still is
stuff,
good stuff, but now it's just buried in it. Because, like, on most Netflix searches, you can just do a search of only Netflix original content. Then you can just flip through it for fucking hours.
Yes.
Because it's not just from here; it's from other countries too. Like, I was watching a Netflix original show from France that was pretty good. I was watching 2 different ones from France. One was Lamont, which is about the female serial killer, and another one was The Frozen Dead or something like that. It was about some sort of, like, murder up in the mountains of the Alps or something. They were both pretty good.
Some stuff they say is Netflix original, but they just buy it and slap their name on it, like they could buy a movie at Sundance.
Yeah,
And
there's
slap
something
their,
like that specifically that I was watching not too long ago. And I was like, that's not a Netflix
It's not
original. I
like,
watched it on TV. Oh, yeah, The
yeah,
Mist. Remember I told you
yeah.
Stephen King's The Mist? It says it's a Netflix original.
Are they
I'm like, no, it's not.
are they continuing the show or something, or is it still just the one season? Because
As far as I know, it's still just the one season.
that
It
was the
had
one.
sort of a cliffhanger ending. It's open-ended for another season. I guess maybe I'd watch it since I bothered to watch the first one, but it's super underwhelming. I would not recommend it.
Yeah.
There's lots of shows to watch. That's not one I would say, oh yeah, put time aside for that. No. Like, I didn't hate it or anything, but it wasn't good.
And his movies like fell off a long time ago. Like Mr. Deeds, I didn't like. Little Nicky, the animal.
The Animal's Rob Schneider, isn't it?
Yeah, he directed it though.
Oh, okay. But yeah, I can't. Little Nicky is another one of those movies. It's almost like I don't hate it the way I hate Popeye, but it's kind of similar. And like the character, just I can't even look at it.
I hate everything about it. I hate everything
about it. Our friend Mike likes it.
I like
He's crazy.
one of the Arquettes is in there.
I don't know. He said I've never seen.
Not
I've
Rosanna.
just seen little snippets and stuff. Oh, I mean, we could talk forever about how awful
Patricia.
it is.
Yeah.
Like most of his movies the last 10 years, very few of them I've watched all the way through. I've just sort of caught bits and pieces on TV, and I'm like, this is awful. Like, You Don't Miss with the Zohan. I've seen various
I've seen like most of this stuff, man, and it's shit. It's all shit. Like, I like that damn Hotel Transylvania 1 and 2 probably better than anything he's done in the past 20 years.
I'm pretty sure you're right.
I mean, that's saying a lot. Those are well done movies, though. I mean, for a non-Disney, animated film.
Yeah, no, they're good. I mean, the second one's not really as good as the first, as things usually happen.
And you've got
don't have quite the same impact.
Let's name them. You've got Kevin James. You've got David Spade. You've got Rob Schneider. They're all in there.
And the sort of guy who's part of the group, he's kind of like the fifth Beatle in this, in that he's part of the group, but he's also outside it. Steve Buscemi.
Yeah.
Because Buscemi's in like what is it? Happy Madison, and he's in Wedding Singer. So he pops up here and there. Like, obviously he's friends with Sandler too, but he's managed to have a career outside of it, unlike somebody like Kevin James or Rob Schneider, who would all be starving to death without Adam Sandler.
Yeah, I mean David Spade really too. I mean,
nobody is happier that Chris Farley is dead than Kevin James. I mean, he literally got his role in Grown Ups. That was supposed to be Chris Farley.
Really? Grown Ups was not that long ago, though.
I know, but I guess he first wrote it or conceived of it a long time ago. Which is funny. Like, and I guess the whole point was, we'll have to wait till I get a bit older, because he would have been quite old enough for it yet. But apparently that was, that's true. Chris Farley was meant to be the Kevin James character. So I guess he came up with it quite a long time ago. And that's the weirdest part. There's a line in that song where he says, like, wish you were still alive, and to make it or with me or something, so, like, to make it rhyme. And he's just like, then we'd be going out to shoot Grown Ups 3 or something like that. And the crowd's like, yeah! I'm like, are you applauding Chris Farley, or are you saying you can't wait for a Grown Ups 3?
People love that shit. I'm not joking at all, man. Like, a certain caliber of person is very, very.
Yeah, I divide up Adam Sandler's output of the last 20 years or whatever into two categories: horrible shit and just half-assed. And to me, this isn't horrible shit; it's half-assed. Like, I don't venomously hate Grown Ups. I just don't like them because I've watched both fully, and there's no effort put into them whatsoever. It's just them dicking around, making a few half-assed jokes with barely a story. Oh, look, I'm married to this hot chick. And I'll even point it out how stupid it is. Yeah. And, that's always been Adam Sandler's thing, though.
That's every movie he's in. He's got like an insanely hot girlfriend or wife.
Yeah, and he's always some sort of hero who wins them over, even if he's a complete dick. The movie where I first realized this was probably, again, a movie I haven't seen all the way through. I've just seen parts of, which is Just Go With It. We're like, are you supposed to root for this asshole?
Oh, man, yeah.
He's like some sort of dentist, and he gets, what's her name, to pretend, I don't know, just so that he can bang some, like, 21-year-old. Like, it's fucking awful.
And she's like a Sports Illustrated swimsuit model or something.
Well, I'm sure he handpicked her.
Yeah.
He probably had like a bunch of big glossy photos on his coffee table there with all these starlets and up and comers. He's just like, I'd like to bang that one.
Oh man, how bad do you want to be in my new movie?
Like, you're gonna have
Harvey
to sleep with
Weinstein
Rob
style.
Schneider tonight. That's a Family Guy joke. That's actually aged, because when it came out, it would probably have been early 2000s. Because it's something like a night at the Playboy Mansion or something like that, and the Playboy bunnies are playing like Simon Says or something like that, and one of them screws up, and they all laugh, and they go, that means you have to sleep with Rob Schneider tonight. And Rob Schneider comes out in like a robe, and he goes, making capes.
Oh my god!
And he goes, remember that? And the girl goes, I was born in 1987, which back then was pretty young.
Yeah, that would.
Nowadays, you'd have to say 97, I guess.
Oh, that shit makes you feel old, man. Like the new Nutcracker movie that's coming out soon.
Oh yeah.
I want to know because it's like on the front of the IMDb page. The girl from that was like, the youngest daughter in The Conjuring.
Yeah.
She's like grown up now.
Wow, like, I had no idea that was
19, 20 years old.
Yeah.
And like the youngest one, like, so she was like 6 or something during The Conjuring.
And The Conjuring doesn't feel long ago at all.
No.
Yeah. So yeah, they grow up so fast, as we say.
And I mean, I feel like a pervert.
Well,
I mean, I guess because I am. But
that's the natural order of things, though, isn't it? It's like, she was cute in this movie, and it's like, now she's, a sex object.
You can't do it.
You have a better moral center than me.
I'm
always thinking, I haven't slept with anybody born in the 90s yet. I gotta tick that. I gotta tick that off my list.
Shit, dude. It's 2018. Go for the 2000s.
Well, one thing at a time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know we've talked at length about Adam Sandler, and I know we're being a bit harsh. And
I don't think we're being harsh. I'm being realistic.
Yeah.
I mean, I've said positive things about his stuff. I mean, I liked Happy Gilmore.
Yeah. The fact is, he got famous, realized how easy it was, and has coasted.
I mean, props to him. He's made a shitload of money doing that.
Yeah, I know, and that's the other thing. It's like, how does he get like really good actors for some of his movies, like Al Pacino? It's because like it's a super never-ending party to film his movies. Everybody loves it. Like, he is a really nice, fun guy, for one thing,
I've heard that.
And it's got like a really nice atmosphere and party. Half the time they're shooting in like some wonderful tropical location or something, like in Blended or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Or even that the one you're talking about. I think that was probably shot on some island somewhere.
Yeah, that was the whole point of the Do-Over. It was just, okay, well, we'll just shoot in some like, cool, rich, luxurious place.
I mean, everybody gets paid well. I mean, hell, I guess from an actor's standpoint, sure.
Yeah.
But, you're forever going to be known as the Dunkachino.
Yeah.
Remember that from, I haven't seen the movie, but I've seen that.
No, I've seen that part too. Yeah. I've only seen parts of the Jack and Jill, but I've seen that part.
Dunkachino.
But I mean, they try to end it like where we're, they show him as himself saying, burn this or something like that.
Yeah.
It's like, but the fact is, even outside of that, in real reality, no, there it is.
It's meta. It's so meta.
It's so meta. So stupid. And that's what I mean. Like, just think of, like, break down the concepts of these movies, and it's mind-boggling that so little thought can be put into it. It was literally, I guess, Adam Sandler sitting there goes, so I'm going to play a guy, and he has a twin sister, and I'll play the sister too, because that's hilarious. I'll play both of them. And the sister's really annoying and bothers the guy. Okay, but...
She really wants to fuck Al Pacino.
She wants Al Pacino, yes. And I don't know, the guy works in advertising, so he knows Al Pacino. But movie! That's pretty much how he comes up with his movies, as far as I can tell.
I mean, it works. It works. Wonder how big that contract was for Netflix, because it was like
Sandler plays this guy, and he'll get like $100 million, but first he has to win a boxing match. Adam Sandler's in love with this girl, but then it turns out she's a golden retriever. Those are ideas that's from South Park. That's when Cartman was Osimo, the Osimo robot, coming up with ideas. Like, this robot keeps coming up with amazing ideas. Most of them with Adam Sandler.
Well, that was in, Rob Schneider is Dirk and Dur or whatever it was. But that was like a long time ago. They made quite a few movies since then.
Mm-hmm. And I've said this before on air and on Sasha Factory and stuff like that, but I'll just say again. So there's that episode of South Park where the whole thing is called You're Getting Old, and everything literally looks and sounds like shit to Stan. He's getting older now, so everything sucks, and he hates everything. And then, like, he winds up going to movies with his friends, and they see a bunch of previews and stuff. And they show a preview for, what is it, Mr. Poplar's Penguins.
Oh.
And they show a preview for, like, I don't know, one or two other things. And they're real movies. Then they show a preview for Jack and Jill. I honestly thought that was the fake one. I thought, they showed a couple real ones, and here's just some bullshit that Matt Stone and Trey Parker made up. I found out, several days later, no, that is the movie, Jack and Jill. Because you're like, Adam Sandler's Jack. Adam Sandler is Jill. Was that I honestly thought that was okay. Here's the made up one. Here's where they're just dicking around. But no, real.
You can't make that shit up.
That's how I first found out about it.
Is Jack and Jill any good? Have you seen it?
Just little pieces.
I mean, is it even funny? Like the whole he's a woman thing.
The whole thing is Adam Sandler in a lot of those movies. It's just he's pretty much an ordinary guy, but he'll, make a joke here and there. But he's the straight man, and he's reacting to stuff. And this one, he gets to react to himself. His sister, she's so crass and loud and annoying. That's the whole point. He's just oh, my sister, I have an important meeting, and now my sister's here to embarrass me. It's that. That's the whole movie.
I saw the one where Andy Samberg is his son.
That's the one I think is a crime against nature. That's the one I hate more than anything.
Really?
I've seen it all the way through. That movie actually offends me. It's pretty hard to offend me. I've seen, I watch all this stuff. I am offended by that movie. That movie makes me sick.
Oh. He's not the straight guy in that, though. I think Samberg is.
Yeah, in this he's just some drunken, washed-up asshole who's famous for fucking his teacher, and Adam Sandler is his son who's tried to distance his life from him, and he comes and doing so. But that movie, I hate that just as much as Little Nicky, if not more. I find that movie abhorrent. And I've seen the whole thing, all the way through. Mm-hmm. I think it's abhorrent. I can't use strong enough words for my hatred of it. Because I know we're all talking about movies here that we don't like and suck. I want to be clear, I loathe it. I can't. I hate that it exists. I hate it.
Coming up next week on the Pocket Dimension, we'll be covering...
That's my boy.
That's my boy.
Oh, yeah, in that movie also, I was talking about the old lady thing, Adam Sandler's character, fucks some 80-year-old grandma.
Yeah.
Because, of course, he does. And because that's super funny.
That's my boy.
Well, yeah, for me, that's the absolute bottom of the pile. Which is really saying something.
Yeah, here it is. Yeah, he did direct that one, too. He directs all of his own movies. Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. Sean Andrews directed that, whoever the hell that is.
Yeah, he's got director buddies that I'm sure are not really accomplished, but he's just yeah, you can direct it. I don't know. I'm going to look up the ones he's directed, because I'm not entirely sure. I don't think he directed too many.
I thought I was on his directing page. I'm on his acting page.
Filmography as... the one that says as director. This doesn't even show director. Has he directed anything? Maybe he's just producer.
Okay, maybe not.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, he didn't produce obviously any of his early stuff, but I mean, he started producing stuff with the Waterboy, and then has pretty much on Waterboy, Big Daddy. I'm not going to name the Rob Schneiders. So of course, you get all the Rob Schneiders. Skip over Punch Drunk Love because that was a real movie, even though I don't like it. Mr. Deeds. 8 Crazy Nights, which might be the worst animated film I've ever seen.
I couldn't get through
it. It's a hateful movie, really. In many ways. It's mean-spirited as fuck.
Towards Jewish people?
No, just towards humanity. I mean, it obviously is a movie that's supposed to kind of make fun of Jewish stuff, but also prop it up. I don't know. I do have to feel sorry for people if that's like the only like Hanukkah movie out there, because the Jewish people deserve much better. In looking at this list of the stuff he's produced, it made me remember all these goddamn Rob Schneider movies that I forgot existed.
The Animal.
Gigolo, the male Gigolo, which I saw in fucking theaters.
Yeah.
Because I was young and dumb. The Animal.
Well, what about like Joe Dirt? He did Joe Dirt too, I'm sure.
Yeah, he did Joe Dirt, which a lot of people defend. I haven't seen it, so I don't know. A lot of people seem to like it and quote it. Master of Disguise, which was an awful, awful, awful movie. Poor, as much as we like him, Carey or Dana Carvey, his movie career is abysmal.
It's non-existent.
The Hot Chick.
Yes, that was a bad one. I've seen that.
Deuce Bigelow, European Junk Bigelow. There's another movie I didn't know he had anything to do with that a lot of my friends like. Ryan likes this movie, Grandma's Boy. I thought that was shit.
It's like a stoner movie, isn't it?
Pretty much. Once again, he did not produce Reign Over Me, which again is another dramatic movie that I hate, but for much different reasons. Produced The House Bunny, which is a movie I'm okay with, but he has nothing to do. Like, I don't think it's good, but you know, I don't hate it or anything like that. Oddly enough, he's not a producer of Funny People. I thought he must have been, but he's not.
Funny People I didn't hate.
Funny People I don't like. I find it very unpleasant, but I do appreciate that he seems to be showing some self-awareness in it, even though it does no good. Like, the movie showed that he was somewhat self-aware, but he was just like, yeah, but I'm just going to keep, coasting and doing bullshit.
I would like to watch that one again. That's one that
I find it deeply unpleasant. It's a movie that made me feel uncomfortable.
That's a quote that should go in the box.
Deeply unpleasant.
Oh, man.
I mean, he has not slowed down. Look at all this ridiculous. I'm going to name stuff he's made since 2015 that he's been part of. Paul Blart Mall Cop 2, Pixels, which is the one that tricked me, Hotel Transylvania 2, The Ridiculous 6, The Do-Over, something called Sandy Wexler, which I think is another Netflix thing. I have no idea what the hell that is. Hotel Transylvania 3 came out. I can't wait to see this movie called Murder Mystery. I'm sure he'll take everything I like about murder mysteries and shove them down the toilet. Weird cast, not what you're expecting. The only person he brought back is Jennifer Aniston. After that, I don't know any of these people. Or I know them, like I know who Terrence Stamp is, I know who Luke Evans is, but they're not usual Sandler people.
Rob Schneider is going to be Colonel Mustard.
So far, it's not saying that, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's what actually ends up happening.
He's worked with Jennifer Aniston a few times.
Yeah. Well, I can't stand her. I've never understood her popularity. I'm not going to say anything about Friends, but I mean, let's take Friends off the table. What the hell has she done? The only thing she's done that I like, and it doesn't matter. She happens to be, it could be a mannequin. It happens to be her in Office Space, but it could be fucking anybody. It doesn't matter that she's in it. It could have been anybody. I like Office Space, but it has nothing to do with her. It could have been anybody. Besides that, she's in that super unfunny, Horrible Bosses movies.
She's American Sweetheart.
She was for a while, probably. But yeah, she's in another one of the few, like I said, there's a few Adam Sandler movies that are so bad they actually kind of offend me, and Just Go With It is another one of those. Like, it offends me that they think me as the audience is going to root for this asshole. This horrible stain of a human being.
I've only seen pieces of it. I don't think I've seen the whole thing.
I haven't seen the whole thing, but I've seen most of it, and I've seen all the setup. And the setup is awful. Like, he's such a piece of shit. Just go with it. I remember a lot of people like Spanglish, which I also thought was...
I didn't like it.
Unpleasant. Not nearly as unpleasant as the other, but... Once again, who's he married to in Spanglish?
Some hot Hispanic lady, I'm sure.
Just do the list of the people he's married to.
Let's see.
Like, just do a list of, like, his romantic interests in these movies, and you'd be like, oh my fucking god.
See, Pixels' domestic gross was 78, and it cost 88. Budget was 88.
Yeah, most of the household.
Wonder what the worldwide was.
That's the first time in many years where I gave him a chance. That was like the first Adam Sandler movie I saw in theaters in like 17 years. And it was wrong. It was a mistake.
Worldwide was 244, so I'm sure it made money. Of course, China probably put it over the.
Yeah, they can do that. Fucking Kevin James. I'm gonna get off this page. It's just making me angry.
Kevin James.
Oh, I want to punch him in the face so much.
Oh.
Talentless hack. He brings nothing.
Well, he did that King of Queens show without Adam Sandler. Just to be
clear. I know. I've seen entire episodes of that show.
I liked it.
I don't get the hook. There's nothing funny about that.
But I like sitcoms.
Yeah. It's always an uphill battle with me with sitcoms. I hold sitcoms in pretty low esteem. It's hard for me to really like one. Obviously, there are good ones, but I'm pretty hard on them. But still, I mean, it's Kevin James. He's not funny. He's stupid. Oh, I'm a delivery guy.
I'm fat.
I'm a fat delivery guy. Don't worry, everybody. I have a friend who's black. This show is A-OK. I'm down with a black guy. He's my friend. We're pals. Hey, remember that comedy legend guy? He gets to make fun of me, so that gives us some cachet. Whatever his name is.
Jerry Stiller.
Yeah, Jerry Stiller. Jerry Stiller? Remember how you were like an angry, bitter, weird old man in Seinfeld? Yes? Do that again.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, they pretty much did a Costanza.
I like Leah Remini, though, because she goes after people. I love how she goes after the Scientologists. That's awesome.
I've never seen the show, but
it's a pretty good show.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, she knows her stuff. She was in it for years. She's not just some, like...
Oh, really? Okay.
She was part of it. So she has, like... So it's not even a publicity thing. She has, like, personal reasons to go after them. She's seen them, go after, attack people that she cares about and stuff. So it's not like, oh... And it's funny, it's the same thing. The Scientologists have all these lawyers. They have these lawyers saying, Leah Remini is a bitter old bitch that blah, 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 blah. That just wants publicity.
Did you ever see Going Clear?
Yep.
That was really
I've seen most of that Scientology stuff. I've even seen my Scientology movie. Is that one?
I haven't seen that one.
Remember that guy from the BBC that does all those things? He talked to the Westboro Baptist Church and stuff like that. Yeah, it's by him. It's pretty cool too, because he actually, what he did was he did a casting call of like amateur or whatever local actors to come in and like play people, including like that president guy of Scientology. So it's cool. It shows them like doing rehearsals, trying to like pick who the guy, and most of it was captured because he has this guy that was with him, and the whole point was to capture this guy's crazy anger. Because when this guy got mad, like he would flip out, like he would push people up against the wall and be like, "You piece of shit!" Like apparently this guy is like insane. The guy who's
is that L. Ron Hubbard, the main guy?
No, it's after he died. He was the second in command. He was really young back when L. Ron Hubbard. He's like 27 or something in the 80s. He's probably like in his like early 50s now. He's the head now. He's been the head ever since L. Ron Hubbard died. Apparently, he's like super unstable. And like he threatens people, and he even physically attacks them, and he's just like, "I will fucking destroy you!" Like yeah, he's pretty hardcore.
Got that Will Smith money. You can do whatever you want to do.
Damn it, Will Smith. I want to like you, Will Smith. You always project such an air of likability, Will Smith.
I want to like you, Will Smith, but you made so many shitty movies.
Yeah.
And you demanded that you should win an Oscar.
When did you do that? I'm not surprised.
Oh, it was, was it Oscars So White? When he didn't get nominated for Concussion?
Oh, is that what kicked it off? I mean, Oscars So White did have a point, but I'm sure, yeah, I'm sure he wrote it for that reason.
Well, it was his wife.
Yeah, that's right. She made the decision first, and he's like, well, I guess it would look bad if I go and my wife doesn't.
Yeah, well, I mean, you make an Oscar movie and you don't win. I mean, look at how many guys do that all the time.
I mean, he's made several, I guess. He's like, why didn't I win for Ali?
Or 7 Pounds. I mean, he made lots of Oscar grant movies.
Pursuit of Happiness.
That's the one, yeah.
I saw that in theaters.
That's a good movie.
It's not bad. It's fine for what it is, but it's a lie. I don't like movies that are lies. Like
the story is a lie?
Well, it's it's very loosely based on a true story. The biggest lie is this whole thing about it being unpaid. Wrong. It was paid. That whole scene where like people were like beating on the door to get in with his son and stuff, it never happened. So I'm not blaming that on Will Smith. That's just a Hollywood thing.
Well, it is what it is.
That is true. But I'm trying to think of a way to swing things back a little towards Halloween since season's upon us. I'm going to watch Halloween Part 4 soon, although I have to tape it off TV, which is distasteful.
Oh, wow.
But, the only Halloweens I own are 1 and 2. They're both very good editions, although, as I've said before, I have the 25th anniversary edition of Halloween DVD, which is nice, has a nice extras. And then the Halloween 35th edition Blu-ray, which came out a couple years ago, is super disappointing. Like, the movie looks good, but as we said, like, the extras aren't any good. And the whole thing that people were clamoring about, I've gone on about this before at length, so I won't go too long. But people were really excited about that movie because, of course, it had a commentary track featuring John Carpenter and Jamie Lee Curtis. And it's awful. It's one of the worst commentary tracks over here. He barely talks. Like it's basically he's gotten to a point where it's like there's nothing more I can say about this movie. So he clearly has no interest or enthusiasm doing it. And Jamie Lee is just going, "Oh, I remember this part. It's so scary. This is so scary." And that's the commentary. It was a total chore to listen to. That was the hook of that edition, that it had that commentary.
That is the
terrible commentary. He's just totally disinterested. She's just saying all this stuff, and he's just sort of half-heartedly agreeing with her. He's like, yeah, you're right. Yeah, okay, yeah. It's awful.
I think I own that, and I own it again in the box set.
Yeah.
And I own the original Blu-ray, which I think still looks really good.
Yeah. And I have the Scream Factory Blu-ray of Part 2, which is nice because it has the TV edition, which is definitely not as good as a movie, but it's entertaining to watch if you have the option.
Yeah. Wait, say that again?
The Scream Factory edition of Part 2. I said it includes the TV version.
Oh, okay.
Which is not good, but it's entertaining to watch. Like, it's interesting just to see the different stuff. But, I mean, obviously it cuts everything out and, changes lines of dialogue, even when they don't make sense. I think I've gone on about this before. I've been trick-or-treated to death tonight. You don't know what death is. Like, that entire exchange is changed for no reason. Like, why? Because they said the word death? I don't know. But I'll be watching both those tomorrow. Because it is Halloween. Those are the ultimate ones. Halloween 1 and 2. And then probably a couple of the specials. Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, Garfield's Halloween Adventure. And, of course, now newly added to it a few years ago, Trick or Treat, which I like so much.
It's a good one.
Great movie.
I always like to watch Halloween 3 around this period of time, too.
I'm taping that tonight, too. I get a kick out of it. It's super stupid, but I get a kick out of it. Actually, one of the most fun Halloweens I've had it's been like I don't have fun Halloweens anymore. It was back in like 2006 or so, and I was living at the apartment with my sister. I remember like I had several friends who I invited over, and I'd seen Halloween 3, and I rented it so they could watch it with me, and we had a really good time doing that because it's just so weird and goofy and stuff. So that was a good Halloween. It was fun to do that because they'd never seen it before.
Oh yeah,
Not that I was like that much of a veteran at the time either. I'd seen it before, but it's not like I grew up with it or anything. I did not.
Have you ever seen Halloween 25 Years of Terror?
Yep. I'm pretty sure that's on the 25th anniversary edition I have.
Okay.
Yeah, that's on the 25th anniversary edition DVD set. So yes, I've seen it. It's not bad.
I've got so much I've bought again. Just because, like you said, they put out a new commentary or something. But the Halloween 2 that I have is not the Scream Factory. It's whoever the hell else put that out.
I don't know. When I was at Walmart a few weeks ago, I saw that they have I think it's a new. It's an anniversary edition of Halloween 2. but I don't know what's on or anything. And I don't even think it was a Blu-ray. I think it was just DVD. And I was like, oh, it was only like $8. I was like, oh, I don't need this for anything.
Who the hell still buys DVDs? I mean, assuming there's not a better.
I was going to say, I buy them if I have to, but yeah, I try to forget the Blu-ray, obviously.
Right, but I mean, what's coming out now that's not going to be out on Blu-ray? I mean, new things, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how it works.
But yeah, I've got.
I mean, I'm always happy to buy Blu-rays that include the DVD, just because, but it doesn't matter that much. I'm just upset that they have like 4K versions now, and I can't get anything out of it. I don't know if you need like a 4K TV, don't you?
4K player and a 4K TV. Yeah.
Yeah, so I can't do that. I can't imagine it being that much better. I mean, I don't know. I don't have 20/20 vision, so it'll probably be okay.
You really need a really big TV to be able to tell a difference.
Yeah, my TV's not big,
and I haven't
by today's standards.
I mean, we're going to get to a point where the human eye, like, is not going to be able to determine.
Yeah, you can say, "Oh, the resolution is this much better." But it's like, yeah, okay, but it's beyond our capacity to see that. As I said, it's funny. Like, I usually don't do the double dip thing. Most of the movies I own on DVD, I don't have an interest in buying it on Blu-ray. The big exception is the Studio Ghibli movies I've rebought on Blu-ray, and there's the least benefit there. Hand-drawn animation. Like, you really think I'm seeing a huge difference in quality between the DVD and the Blu-ray? Because I don't think so. I think hand-drawn animation does not lend itself to that. It's like, I mean, considering like all these movies, a lot of these movies came out in the digital age when stuff like Cell Dirt didn't exist anymore. You know, so it's like there's nothing for you to clean up or scrub away or make look better.
Right. I mean, yeah, that was the biggest thing for me. Movies like, you know, The Thing and Halloween, those are my big, you know, oh shit, look how good Blu-ray looks, you know, movies. Yeah. And they've both been redone like twice since then to look even better.
Yeah, they just did a bunch of releases of 4K versions of John Carpenter's movies. They did The Thing, They Live, Prince of Darkness, and one other one that just came out as special 4K releases.
I've got all the Blu-rays of that stuff. I don't want to have to buy it again, and I don't have I'm not doing the 4K stuff.
That's it. Well, I don't, so maybe I will at some point. I don't buy movies nearly as much as I used to. They're far down the list now. There are too many other things beat them out. Books and comics and video games. Movies are further down for me. So there's all sorts of stuff I still don't own. Like, it seems like a crime. I don't even own the Alien movies on Blu-ray. Like, I should, but I don't.
I got that on a sale. I got that, and
that's what I mean. You can actually get that for a pretty decent price.
Yeah. That's a great set too, man. Tons of special features.
Yeah. So I do mean to get it.
You get part 4, your favorite.
In some ways, it's more watchable than part 3.
Yeah. The people want to defend 3. I mean, I'll defend 4 to a point.
The only way I can defend 3 is say, yeah, there might have been a good movie there if there wasn't all the meddling, but the fact was there was, and this is what we got. So there's no point in defending something that didn't happen. You know? We can't say, well, it would have been good. Well, if it wasn't.
Yeah.
Like, I do feel for, I think it was Fincher, because, yeah, they messed with his stuff.
But, I mean, how many times have we heard that before? Oh, it would have been a good movie if there wasn't all this studio interference.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, but there
believe
was. Yeah. Sure, but I mean, like, mimic.
Because, I mean, sometimes things, like, for instance, I never gave a shit about Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but even I know that the movie they made was nothing like what What's-His-Name had written. Mm-hmm. And that makes it clear by the show, because the show is completely different in tone and everything from the movies. Like, this is what I wanted to make, and they wouldn't let me. So, I get that.
Yeah. I watched that movie not too long ago with my kids, and
I've never seen it. I just know that it is not considered good. And I know that Joss Whedon personally hates it because all he sees it is they took my idea and then wouldn't let me do it the way I wanted to. Which, yeah, that happens.
They basically took a few key ideas and made their own movie with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I can understand why that would piss you off. That would really piss me off.
But, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's I've got kind of a nostalgia thing for that movie, but even then, it's not good. It's I mean, I guess you get to see Paul Rubens as a vampire if you want to see that.
Yeah, it's funny we were talking about Paul Rubens.
Yeah, but it's I saw a double feature of that and Death Becomes Her on the same day.
I remember Death Becomes Her. I haven't seen it probably since the 90s, but it was kind of funny.
Yeah, I didn't like either. I mean, I like parts of Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah.
But
I can guess which parts.
I was like 12, so yeah.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, it was 92. Which was a great year for movies being fucked up by executive meddling, I guess. It was the same year as Alien 3.
What year was Mimic? Because that was another one.
97.
Okay. That was coming to mind, too, because it was gonna be so good. Del Toro was first time in Hollywood, and Weinstein screw him over.
Yeah. Well, see, by the time when I saw it, I had no idea who Guillermo del Toro was. Never saw any of his earlier work, so I didn't know any of that. The main thing I remember about that movie is I had a friend who had an aversion to bugs, and he left the theater.
Really? Wow.
But it's a pretty decent movie for what it was.
Well, Del Toro released a producer's cut or director's cut. Director's cut.
Yeah, so I've heard. I'd like to see it.
He rearranged some stuff and added some scenes, and it's really, I don't think either is very good. I mean, it's watchable, but it's something lacking in that movie. It's like the story or something. It's flat.
Yeah.
I mean, the effects are cool. The idea is cool, but
yeah,
just the execution, it's just not there.
But yeah, I'd heard they made him change a bunch of stuff.
Have you seen it? You haven't seen the original, like, theatrical?
I've seen whatever the normal version is.
Okay. Oh, yeah, that's right. You saw it with your friend.
I saw it in theater, and I've seen it at least in pieces on TV.
Yeah. I just remember it was a big to-do, he's going to do his director's cut. It's going to be so much better, and it really, really wasn't.
Ah, that's too bad.
But, and then maybe in the same year, they were ruining Halloween H2O.
Yeah, I saw part again because they've all been on. I was watching part of that yesterday, trying to find something to like in it, but there's just nothing. It's not a movie again that I hate. I'm not like, oh, this is stupid or that sucks. It's just all bland and forgettable. That's how I feel about Halloween H2O.
Yeah, that's almost worse than it sucks. Bland and forgettable is not at all what you want from a slasher film.
Because, I don't know. And, I'm not usually the type of person that pays much attention to even, Michael's performance, because some people say, oh, yeah, this guy was the best, or that. I'm just like, it's not that hard a role to play, really, But I think that might be the weakest performance I've seen by the stuntman as Michael.
Really?
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've seen it. I really don't like that movie very much. That said, I think I like it better than Part 6.
Yeah. I can't defend Part 6 as a good movie. I just like it. I have every reason to dislike it, but I don't. I get a big kick out of it. One of the things I like about 6, I can say that, I think is objective, is that until the Rob Zombie films came out, and then this latest one, it was probably the most violent. 6 really upped the violence compared to the other ones. Sometimes kind of nonsensically, but, And I can remember as a kid, that's also tied up too, because I remember 6 is the first one I saw, not all the way through, but most of. I can remember being on TV in 97 or 98 or something, and being all freaked out of it on one Halloween night, towards the end where where he kills that room full of doctors. I was like, oh my god. But yeah, 6 is nonsensical and messes with retcons and has an unsatisfying ending. I get all the things in it. I also like it because it actually has a really Halloween-y feel. Because they make a big deal out of the trick-or-treating and the costumes and the set dressing and stuff. And I also like being a 90s person. I like that snapshot of 90s college campuses.
Mm-hmm.
I like it for that. And just because the age I am, like I said, the kid has a Power Rangers toy in his room. He has the young T-Rex from Jurassic Park. I have that exact T-Rex.
Mm-hmm. Dino Damage.
He's playing a Game Boy. So it's a snapshot of sort of my own childhood, I guess. Mm-hmm. But yeah, what it does to Jamie is just awful. Jamie has the most depressing character arc of any person in a slasher film.
what an odd franchise. Like, you know, horror, whatever genre you want to say, but it goes 2 movies, okay, cool, and then just totally different direction. Part 3, Part 4, it's another different direction, and that it's the granddaughter or it's Jamie Lee Curtis's daughter, right? Laurie's
Yeah.
daughter, and then they do 2 movies of that, and then now she's grown and she has a baby.
Supposedly, like, they hint it's Michael's baby, which is just,
Right.
Goes against my sensibilities. Which is, again, why shouldn't I hate the movie for that reason? They're implying that Michael knocked somebody up. That's ridiculous, but I just let it go, I guess. Even though, again, no, that's not his character. That's fucking stupid.
But then it goes another different direction. It says, okay, now forget those past 3 movies.
Yeah, Jamie Lee Curtis is still alive. She's just gone into hiding.
What the fuck, man? And
she has a son who's teen heartthrob Josh Hartnett.
Yeah. Not a daughter, a son.
Yeah. And then it's just like, oh, she finally kills him. And the next movie's like, nope, fake out. And then, she killed somebody else. And then she got locked up. And now Michael's going to kill her really anticlimactically while she's locked up.
And she's dead. And then the next movie says, well, fuck, forget the remakes. We can't even go there. But then the next movie is like, no, fuck all of that.
Only the first one happened. But it didn't end the way you thought it ended.
I mean, can you think of anything more convoluted than that? Like, only like some really hardcore fans like us would even understand that. Like, can you imagine the casual viewer? Like, wait, what?
Yeah.
What the fuck is going on? Like,
I mean, the only thing that's convoluted is if you tried to connect movies that aren't connected, like the way the Bond films. Because the thing is, some Bond films worked as direct sequels to others, while others are just wiping the slate completely clean. And not even as, like, reboots or remakes. No, they're just like, here's another Bond story, but it has nothing to do with the other Bond stories. So Bond's kind of similar. Because the very first one was Dr. No. And then From Russia with Love came out, it was a direct sequel. They even name-checked Dr. No. It's when he first meets the evil agency Spectre, and they say, we have to get Bond. He killed our agent, Dr. No, and stuff. And then, a few more movies happened. And then Blofeld has his first appearance, I think, what's his first appearance? I can't remember if he's in Thunderball or not. But if he's not in Thunderball, he's like in, maybe You Only Live Twice, something like that. Anyway, so then he has some runs in with Blofeld. But every time Blofeld shows up, he looks like a different person. But then they say, well, that actually could be connected because Blofeld points out that he has facial surgery to look like different people. So you can connect them. Then you get, like, Roger Moore comes in. So now it's a completely different Bond. They don't talk about anything. But then in one of the later Roger Moore ones, in, I think, what is it, You Only Live Twice, the whole opening sequence is him finally killing Blofeld. So it's like, oh, all that stuff with Blofeld did happen. Which means, wait a second, Blofeld was really important in the weird one with George Lazenby, the one where he got married. In fact, they point that out because in You Only Live Twice, in that opening where he kills Blofeld, he visits his fucking wife's grave, the wife he had from You Only Live Twice. But then after that, it goes off the rails again, and then it starts over with it's basically a reboot again with the Timothy Dalton movies. In fact, that's the first time they're starting to recast other people too. Now Moneypenny's a different person, M is a different person, and then those movies disappear, and then we've got Pierce Brosnan. Now M is a woman, and that goes on for a while. But then they do an actual hard reboot. This is a reboot because the whole point is Daniel Craig's not even a 00 yet. He's becoming a 00. But still, M is Judi Dench. Oh, okay. I guess that's fine. And then they just kill her off and then they make a new M. So, I mean, that could be confusing. But the whole point is that they play fast and loose with it anyway. And the other thing about the Craig movies is that they are all connected. They are all direct sequels to each other.
Right.
But before that, they didn't really do that. Although they did it once or twice kind of by accident or in passing. So that could kind of drive you crazy too, that continuity. But again, you have to accept it because it's a floating timeline. Because it's like Bond's an agent in the 60s. He's an agent in the 70s, 80s. They have to keep moving it forward, which makes sense because he's a timeless character. Whereas it's not a floating timeline with Halloween. No matter which one you're watching, unless you count the Rob Zombie ones, like the first one is history. He killed his sister in 1963, He went on his rampage in 78, and everything flows from that. So they are going to have to start doing a reboot or a floating timeline, because Michael, this is for the last time you can really use that continuity. You know, they do another one in 10 years. He's now in his 70s.
Well, they're about to make a third movie called Halloween 2. How fucked up is that?
They might as well. Even though this one should have been called Halloween 2.
Halloween 2?
So they're saying, so here's the new continuity. Halloween again, new Halloween 2.
Halloween again. That's what it should have been called.
Yeah. It still doesn't have the most confusing titles, though. The most confusing titles goes to the Fast and Furious.
Oh, okay.
That's got to be the most. That's got to be the most. Yeah, First Blood Part 2. What the fuck? Like, did they even think before they said that one?
Yeah, but the one, it's like the last one was Rambo, and the next one is going to be John Rambo.
That's still happening?
Yeah,
I remember hearing about that a few years ago, but I thought
right now. They just started filming.
Remember when there was a time that they was going to make Rambo like turn into like Predator, like he was going to like fight some sort of monster? Oh, that was a thing for a while. It went away, but that was an actual like script where suddenly Rambo was going to fight some kind of monster or alien or something.
Like, okay, First Blood, Rambo, First Blood Part 2, Rambo 3, just Rambo. Now Rambo 5 is what they're calling it. I thought it was going to be called John Rambo.
Well, the Predator model is pretty good too. Predator, Predator 2, Predators, The Predator. So we still need a Predators 2 and a The Predator 2.
Oh, man. And what's crazy, too, is those Jackie Chan movies when they got translated over here.
Oh, yeah, because they had the titles backwards.
Isn't like Operation Condor 2, the first one?
Yeah. What it is Armor of God came out, and then Operation Condor came out. And it wasn't even necessarily a sequel, but you could see it as that, because he's playing basically the same character. But there's no mention of it. And then what happened was they released them in reverse over here. They came out with... so they did Operation Condor, and then they said Operation Condor 2, Armor of God. But that's backwards.
Oh, man. That's funny.
Yeah. Maybe we should have just stuck to numbers.
Yeah.
But even stuff like Friday the 13th couldn't help itself. Friday the 13th, part 1, 2, 3. Okay, we're good. 4, the final chapter. Chapter? God, I sound... The final chapter.
But, I mean, Friday the 13th did the same thing. They
5, a new beginning.
Yeah.
5, a new beginning.
And
well,
then,
the first 3 didn't, though. They were just Friday the 13th.
And then what? Jason Lives is next after that, right?
Yeah. Then The New Blood. Then Takes Manhattan.
Mm-hmm.
Goes to Hell.
So it's like studios have got in their head that numbers are bad because if you look right, like really they don't do. I mean, maybe in recent years they started doing it again, but for a while they just always just had some subtitle. It was like so and so,
which usually has really nothing to do with the plot. Like I really like a lot of the Mission Impossibles and stuff like that. They're just words. It's just a buzzword. And they even do it with like Halloween later, like Resurrection.
Well, they went to 3, right? Mission Impossible 3, and then they started doing just subtitles. Or
I just love that they tack stuff on. Like they did a second Alien versus Predator movie, and it was called Requiem. Yeah, that movie really reminds me of a Requiem. Yeah, well done, well spotted. That was worth your English degree or whatever the fuck you think. And now Alien Covenant. They just can't help themselves with words like that. I mean, you see it all the time in comics, too, but at least usually in most of the comics, like, there's some sort of tie-in. It's not just a buzzword for the hell of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when you read Batman Gothic, it's pretty freaking gothic in its tone and atmosphere, so it kind of makes some sense, you know?
I mean, are we supposed to assume that the average movie-going person is so stupid that they don't want to see a sequel, yet they're going to go see a movie and...
It has a new word tacked onto it?
Yeah, it's like, oh, it's a new movie. Is it like, well, I didn't see the first one, so I don't want to see the second one. Is it that type of thinking?
I mean, again, it was pretty simple at first. Aliens. They're like, well, we can't do that again, so we'll just say Alien 3. Okay, that's fine. Everyone's fine. Alien 3. But then they have to get all weird. Resurrection. and Covenant and
I mean,
any other word that comes to mind.
Resurrection does have something to do with the plot, but the plot is stupid. So
Yeah. How many movies are called Resurrection? Halloween, Alien. I assume that there must be a resurrection implied in one of the billions of Hellraisers.
that's what I was gonna say.
There's Revelations. Revelations. Which they do in video games too. That's why I said it that way, because I think they're not bad games either for spin-offs. Resident Evil Revelations.
I feel like there's got to be some like shitty sci-fi movie called Resurrection, starring. Shit, I can't think of his name. The guy from the Highlander films.
Yeah, and see again, I can give passes even though I don't like the movies because they come from good comics, like X-Men Apocalypse. I get that. This one's about apocalypse. It's not some weird metaphorical apocalypse. No, it's the fucking character apocalypse. X-Men Days of Future Past. Yeah, I get it. You know, that makes sense. But they're not good movies, but at least they were based on, you know, decent comics where the words were part of something. They weren't just buzzwords thrown in for no goddamn reason.
Yeah, Christopher Lambert did a film called Resurrection in 1999.
What didn't he do? I saw a better film by Christopher Lambert in 1999. What is it? The worst version you'll ever see of anything even remotely based on
Highlander?
Beowulf. Beowulf.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
He did this Beowulf movie in 1999. It's all sci-fi and garbage. Man, it's awful.
Sounds awful.
But they're thinking, hey, we can do something with Beowulf. There's no copyright on that. Anybody can do Beowulf. Hell, we don't even know who the original author was.
That's true.
Public domain, baby. But oh my, sequels. Yeah, I'm suffering from sequelitis, for sure. As are we all these days. I mean, I get it. There's always going to be sequels, and often sequels are a good thing and are needed, but just like anything else, every once in a while, you're just like, I want to see something that's just new. So I don't have to compare it to anything else. So I don't have to have weird expectations. So my expectations are within the context of just it alone without, you know, having to compare it to something else. Be kind of a nice thing to do. And I don't know. But when something isn't like that, I don't think it's unfair or unreasonable to compare it. Said, I'm not trying to convince anybody the new Halloween is great, but compared to some of the other Halloweens, it's much better. So I don't see how that's cheap or unfair. It's a Halloween movie.
I think we're overanalyzing it, really.
That's what I tried to tell everybody when I came on the Sausage Factory. That was like what I tried to say. I said there's a lot of overanalysis going on and nitpicking and stuff like that. But if people want to hold on to it, I'm not going to make a thing about it. It is what it is. I liked the movie. Not a great movie, but I liked it.
I mean, that was the most I could expect, was to like it.
Yeah, I didn't think I was going to love it and it was going to redefine the genre for me or save the series or whatever, anything else people think it should have done.
Yeah, I didn't think it was going to be better than the original movie or anything.
Yeah, that's a lost cause if you think that's going to happen.
There's a lot more hate for it than what I imagined. I mean, I didn't really read reviews or anything when it first came out, but
I'll have to. I hadn't either.
But generally, what I was seeing was positive stuff about it from people going to watch the film, and I just assumed these are probably hardcore fans that would probably are giving it, I mean, that's how it usually works. People that get in there really early usually give it really positive reviews.
Yeah.
Seeing like, matinee or, midnight screenings and stuff. But, yeah, I mean, most people seem to like it from what I saw, just on social media. And then, I watched it and liked it quite a bit and come to find out, like, I mean, that Sausage Factory video, like, if you look in the comments, like, it looks like most people hated it. Like, not just didn't like it, like, hated it with every fiber of their being.
I'm really confused as what's to hate about it.
I just don't. Yeah, I don't see that.
Like, it didn't do the things the Rob Zombie films did. Like, it didn't make everybody into angry white trash rednecks. It didn't demystify the origin. It didn't make everybody hateful and terrible with skull fuck and fuck your mom and all this stuff throwing out everything. Like, see, I mean, I get people like and hate things, but I just mean, I would think that people can objectively understand why I hate those movies. I've heard people say how great the Rob Zombie movies because of how it brings it into the real world or how it's brutal. I disagree, but I get their point. But I hope they can get mine that I find it really troubling to see, you know, this done to Michael or that done to the characters and something like that. I'm having trouble. I'm having trouble extrapolating what could be so hateful or about the new one.
It's like if you wondered what Halloween would be
he's
like.
Still killing people.
I mean, like if you wondered what Halloween would be like if it was set like in the world of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, that's what Halloween, you know, Rob Zombie Halloween movies are.
I suppose. But even in his desperate homage to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, he still can't do it right. Because I don't know. I still found like people sometimes to like in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, even if it was just in a goofy way. Like there's nobody to like in Rob Zombie film.
You mean the remake of Texas Chainsaw or the original?
Well, the original.
Oh, okay.
I don't really have a problem with the remake, but I'm not going to go there because unlike some of the other series, I don't hold it in high regard. I think the original is the only good one. I don't like any of the sequels.
I'd agree with that.
And I mean, I have to give what's his name credit for the second one, really, because he realized that he couldn't do a good sequel, so he just was like, "Oh, we'll make it funny and weird." So it's not. So I'm not even going to pick on Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 because they weren't trying. They were like, "Okay, we'll go in a different direction, black comedy it up. It'll be goofy and funny, and people can like it for that." So if you like it for that, that's fine. But no one's going to. I don't think anyone's going to say yes. This was a worthy sequel to the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. This continues the story in a satisfying way, and has all the great elements. No.
People that don't like part 2, though, that's their reasoning is they don't like the comedy aspects.
Well, I don't either, but I'm just saying I get why they did it.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm saying I don't like it, but I'm not going to pick on them for choosing that route because it kind of makes sense. But I still don't have to like it. I don't like it.
No, it's like Gremlins 2, you know.
I mean, there's still things that are really funny about it, like that guy that just loves chainsaws so much. Like he goes out of like the store and then just starts going on the wood with it. Like he's so happy.
Dennis Hopper.
Yeah.
He's
that whole exchange he has with the guy at the store is just so ridiculous. It's funny. It's enjoyable.
Well, the guy's dual wielding chainsaws. Come on.
Yeah. But no, so I don't think of that as a good franchise. I think it was one good movie and then just sort of a bunch of stuff.
Well, it was only 3 movies. Well, Leatherface, 1, 2, Leatherface, and then the one everyone hates, the
new generation.
Yeah, the Matthew McConaughey, which I actually like that film, but that's me. And,
that might be the first one I saw. I think that's the first one I saw.
And then you've got
they did a remake. They did a prequel.
They did a remake. Then they did
now they just did another prequel.
Hold on. They did a remake, then they did a prequel of the remake, and then they did Halloween, or, oh, God.
I walked out of the prequel of the remake, by the way. It's one of the few movies I've walked out of in my life. What's it called? Came out in 2006. The Beginning?
That sounds right.
Yeah, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Beginning. I walked out of it.
But then they've done 2 since then, or maybe 3 since then.
I've seen 2 of them. I've seen the other prequel where he's just some fat teenager running around. And I saw the one before it where like the timing doesn't line up at all, where a girl who is way, way too young to be like part of that family is somehow his cousin, even though the timing in no way lines up. Go get him, cuz, or some bullshit. It's really bad. They're both awful.
Awful. Yeah, I saw the one from 2017 last night.
Bad. Yeah, he's just some fat teenager running around.
Well, he's not the fat one.
Oh, isn't he?
He's not the fat one. The fat one gets killed and he gets his face all fucked up.
I can't even remember. I just remember there are a bunch of like just kids from like a mental institute running around being dicks.
I thought it was gonna be the fat one too.
I guess that they were trying to trick us.
And then he like cuts his like potentially girlfriend's head off at the end.
Don't even remember. I watched that movie and instantly deleted it from my brain, I guess.
See if I can
because I mean, I knew what I was in for. I knew I wasn't going to like it. I played it full well knowing I wasn't going to like it. I was like, let's see. Let's just see.
This went direct to DirecTV. You know it's going to be a good movie.
Symbol of quality.
I'm trying to see the franchise here. I feel like I'm leaving something out.
I don't think so.
Okay.
3. Is there a part 3?
That's Leatherface, yeah.
No, I mean originally. There's the one in 1974.
This another film called Leatherface, yeah.
Oh, I've never seen that.
1, 2, Leatherface.
I don't think I've ever seen Leatherface.
1990.
Yeah, no, I've never seen that.
People like it. I don't really care for it.
I think I've seen every other one, which is really fucking sad.
Yeah, the Texas Chainsaw and then Leatherface. That's how the newest ones. Texas Chainsaw 3.
I had no idea the third one was called Leatherface. So man, once again we get some confusing titles. Back to our original point.
7 or 8.
8 of them. Wow. Yeah, I only think the first one is good. Maybe a couple of the others have some entertainment value, but that doesn't mean they're good.
I'm not going to disagree with you. It's like they just kept trying to remake. I mean, with the exception of part 2, they just kept trying to remake part 1 the whole time.
Yeah. I've only seen like the New Generation once maybe, but I remember it really well. And I mean, that would have been like 20 years ago that I saw it. It still stands out in my memory.
I mean, it's super stupid. It's
like the woman hitting the girl, like she's like bonking her on the head.
Right.
Like, oh, leave me alone. I'm like, you can't even hit her hard. What are you doing?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But they're like, I guess it's funny. She keeps bonking her. Like,
you're talking about the grandfather character. They give him the like hammer. Go on, do it, Grandpa.
Yeah, that happens at one point too. But there's like the middle-aged woman, and she's just sort of smacking her. Like, she's not savagely beating her or anything. She's just sort of bonking her, and she's like, "Oh, stop!"
Is that the like sister that you don't realize she's in on it for the longest time?
I can't remember.
She's like a real estate agent.
Yeah, she's like some middle-aged blonde woman. She's all smiles and nice through the whole thing. She's all really nice, but then she's like smacking her. I don't know. So I remember that pretty well. I kind of want to watch it again. I'll have to watch it again.
It's funny. I crack up the entire movie. It's not a good movie though.
Like I said, some of them have some entertainment value to them. That doesn't make them good. And that's what I mean. Because like I know some people like some of the sequels. I'm just saying you can't really call them good in the same way the first one is actually legitimately a good movie. Which in itself was a lot of a struggle because it's a movie about people getting like murdered by a psycho. A lot of people are like that's not a good movie. It's like, well, there is a category of movies doing that can be called good. They're small. You might say the original Halloween. You might say this Black Christmas, Psycho. And then after that, you just get into people like us who are slasher fans.
Right.
I think, in the grand scheme of slashers, The Burning is a really great movie. But it's not a great movie outside of that context.
Sure.
So,
why do they keep trying to go the prequel route? Like, why do they keep thinking we want to see these people as kids, these killers as kids? It's like we need to know why they are the way they are. Like, Rob Zombie did it with Michael, and
which is completely the whole thing. Just
they've done it twice with Leatherface now. We need
a bit more forgivable. Not that I'm saying it's a good idea. I don't think anything's more forgivable than Michael. I mean, the whole point was just to make this mysterious killer. We have no idea why he does what he does or where it came. He just snaps one night as a child, and he's that way ever since. I love that there's no explanation.
Yeah.
Rob Zombie's just like, oh, look, he's just some picked-on kid from a horrible family. He was a ticking time bomb. He would have gone any second now. Even you would have flipped out if you had that thing. And look, we'll show him angrily, just full of rage, beating on bullies, going, I mean, I'll stop myself because I could just go on forever with my problems with those movies.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And people say that the
run-of-the-mill serial killer. It's like, oh,
right.
Yeah. I get why he did it. Yeah.
Right. Well, people say that that was their big complaint with the Halloween 2018 is that it's not a Shape movie; it's a Michael Myers movie. Well, those from the very fucking beginning are
the whole. I don't see how this is. Does this really reveal more about his character? He remains completely impassive. The whole point is, we try to examine him and we try to interview him, and he's a wall. It doesn't give us any insight. It doesn't take away the mystique. They're just saying, for 40 years now, he hasn't said or done anything.
they're saying it humanizes him and it takes away the supernatural elements, but
I don't
I
see
don't agree
how.
with that
I don't
because
agree with that.
he gets all fucked up at the end. I mean, he's injured like the entire time. He's constantly getting like shot and stabbed,
He gets
and
his fingers blown off. He doesn't make a sound.
he doesn't stop coming. You know,
Yeah, I don't see how he's humanized.
but I mean, I
I
guess
mean, yes, I'll always do have a problem. I don't like that he's been locked up for 40 goddamn years. I don't like it. That is something I hold against the movie.
Sure.
But I'm just saying, beyond that, no, I don't see how they humanize him. I mean, all they say is, yeah, we had him for 40 years and he didn't do anything. They didn't say, oh, here's tapes of my recorded sessions with him and he started crying and telling me about his childhood. Like, no, he remained the shape, just waiting. And of course the mask is significant. Why wouldn't the mask be significant? I remember somebody saying something like in the chat, like, well, Michael killed his sister and this guy and that guy before he ever put the mask on. Yeah, I know. No one's saying the mask makes him kill. I just think, yeah, he was a killer, but when he found the mask, he felt like whole. It's almost the same thing in Friday the 13th. Jason was super stoked to find that mask. He was already killing people, but when he found the mask, it was really important to him. And I just think it's the same way with Michael, Sure, he was killing people. The mask doesn't make him kill people. He already killed people.
Right.
But he found the mask, and he was like, yes, this was who I am. This is my identity. I will always have this mask on, just like at the end of 1, when she pulls the mask off him, the first thing he has to do is put it back on him because it's so important to him. So I think some people are really misinterpreting things there, like saying, oh, yeah, the mask, they're implying that the mask is like what makes him evil or something. No.
Yeah.
To me, it's very easy to understand. But yeah, of course, the guy bringing the mask is going to trigger something. And in the Michael Myers way, again, he didn't react in the yard. He just stood there. He betrayed nothing in the yard. They were hoping he would turn around or talk to them, and of course he doesn't. So I think that was handled fine.
Yeah.
I don't want to turn this into a huge rebuttal of the people that didn't like Halloween or anything like that. We got our own show and our own agenda. But I don't know. If you didn't see that, I guess that's just me going over some of the other points I made.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, what was weird, it was weird we've talked about how weird it was to defend a movie that neither of us feels that strong about.
Yeah.
We thought it was okay. And we kind of had to defend it against people that viciously hated it, I couldn't raise my level to that because I simply don't have it. I'm not like, damn it, listen to me, this movie's a masterpiece, because I don't think that,
I mean,
I thought it was pretty good, so I can sort of half-heartedly defend it and say, well, I thought this was okay. No, I didn't like this. Yeah, that wasn't great, but I thought this was good. That's the best I can do.
If people hate that movie, really, you just need to give up because that's the best you're ever going to get right there. That's the best Halloween movie you're ever going to get. That it was very competently made.
Do you think a better one's coming? Because I don't.
No, that's what I'm saying. I think it was way better than it had any right to be. I was shocked at how well made it was. And,
yeah, so were Ryan and I. It's like the first thing he said to me coming out. He's just like, wow, the production values were way more than I was expecting.
I mean, watch part 5 and then watch this shit. I mean, and tell me how you feel. I just don't get it. I mean, you're never going to get a better one. So don't even go watch a new Halloween movie if it comes out. You're going to be disappointed.
No, I wasn't disappointed. My main problems with the movie were things I already knew going in. And they weren't handled too badly.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all have problems.
I mean, the one thing that H2O has over this movie is that H2O acknowledged 2 happens and suggests that for 20 years Michael's been missing, which is a lot better than saying 2 didn't happen and that for 40 years he's been locked up.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the only thing I can give H2O over this movie. It kills H2O to me in every other category. Story, characters, kills, suspense, whatever. Anyway, as we said, it's been overanalyzed and we've talked too much about it. I'll enjoy 1 and 2 when I watch them tomorrow in all their purity. But insofar as Asian horror goes, I think Shudder stands out as one of the better ones, and probably one of the more well-known ones. I don't think we're really telling people anything they don't know. But I will say, if you're like me and you haven't seen it in a bunch of years, it's very enjoyable to watch again. I certainly benefited from forgetting most of it, so I could, be surprised and interested and intrigued and stuff. And I did remember sort of the twist reveal before it happened, but not right away, so that was good too. It is a really great sort of reveal. Sin's coming home to roost and having to live with all that. There's even some interesting symbolism in the movie. For instance, that whole thing about the praying mantises is kind of neat. Now, I mean, it's not exactly a metaphor, but it kind of lines up if you think about it.
Mhm.
The idea of the females killing the male. I don't know. I mean, again, you can't go over it with a fine tooth comb, but it's kind of interesting. But yeah, that's one of the more fucked up things that happens in nature. The praying mantis. The female doesn't just kill the male during sex, but she eats his head while he's alive. That's how he dies. She doesn't cut off his head and eat him. She eats his head until he dies from it.
Not all the time, but yeah.
What the fuck? What the fuck, nature?
Yeah. Well, it's supposed to be like a snack after, she's making the babies.
And yeah, we don't know how much about like how aware insects are, or what they teach or learn, or if they learn anything, if it's all instinct. But like, you never hear about a male fighting them off. They either all go into this knowing they're going to die, or they're just not surprised and don't care when it happens. I don't know.
Well, I mean, imagine.
I guess that's overthinking again, but sometimes I do.
Imagine being that motivated for sex, knowing that your chance of dying if you achieve it,
super high, and a very grisly death. She's gonna eat your head, dude.
Yeah, I mean, Black Widows are the same way.
Yeah. Yeah, I am a little surprised in this world of sequels, as we talked about sequels, that this movie doesn't have any, although, again, it has 3 freaking remakes, and then it even has, like, a remake of a remake or something. Wait, I had that, and then I clicked off it. Let me see if I can find it. Because, yeah, I think there's a remake of a remake. Something really weird.
There's like 4 total movies, or maybe 5.
So there's the original, there's the 2 different Indian ones, and then there's the American one. But also... Oh, right, yeah. So if you click on the last remake, the 2010 Indian one, the Hindi one, Click was... Yeah, then they did a different Indian version, the Tamil. They did a dubbed version of that, dubbed in Tamil, called Monica House. That came out in January 2016.
Wow.
So that makes there's technically 2 of the Tamil movies, although all Monica House is just a dubbed over version of Click. But still, it's kind of interesting. But yeah, I have no idea. Is the Tamil industry a big industry? I'm going to have to look into this. Because you always think of, the Indian film industry in Bollywood, and, they're all in Hindi.
Right.
But Tamil is its own thing.
I'm not familiar with that at all.
Yeah, for the other language. Sometimes called Kollywood.
Of course it is.
And I mean, it goes way back too. The first Tamil silent film was made in 1918.
Wow.
So it's not like it's just some new thing. Tamil cinema had a profound effect on other filmmaking industries of India, establishing this as a secondary hub for Hindi cinema, other South Indian film industries, as well as Sri Lankan cinema. Increasing number of overseas, Singapore, Malaysia, Japan, Middle East, parts of Africa, Oceania, Europe, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. But yeah, we often stress our interest in world cinema and movies from other countries. I have to say, like, that's the one country that's never really won me over is Indian films. I've seen some Indian films, and haven't really found any that I like very much or appreciate. Whereas, with pretty much every other country, I've seen some really good films. I'm not saying, India's incapable of making good movies. I'm sure they make good movies. What's funny too is, the random categories that show up on your Netflix sometimes. Well, I mean, I have a pretty normal one that comes up a lot called films from the 90s. But my latest film from the 90s, for some reason, is 80% Indian films. Tons of them. If I had my Netflix up right now, I'd read them to you, because there's a bunch. Many, many, many.
Yeah.
I also like how they'll make musicals out of anything, which is kind of funny, even if it's not popular. Like I said, one of the things I found on my Netflix was an Indian musical version of the Tom Cruise movie Night and Day. Like, who
Wow.
remembers that movie or gives a crap about it? But Bollywood's like, yeah, that'll be a good adaptation. Let's musical that up.
I think there's like even musical numbers in like Spider-Man.
Yeah,
It would just like all of a sudden you'll just break into dance and the entire, cast will just,
But I kind of do want to see that then.
the Superman's pretty good.
So, like, when they do like an Indian Spider-Man, does that mean it's in India with Indian people? Like, it's
Yeah.
not Peter Parker? Okay, that's what I figured.
Yeah, I mean it's still Peter Parker, but it's he's an Indian guy.
Yeah, it's funny. There is an official Indian Spider-Man who's in the Spider-Verse. If I knew I could find the page right off, I'd run and get it, but I won't. But he's even in the whole Spider-Verse event, and he's got like a similar name. And what's funny is he's having a conversation with one of the other characters, saying how he feels like he's going to die because he goes, "I think I'm just derivative of this Peter Parker guy. I mean, come on. I live in India, and this is my name, and I have an aunt named this, and stuff like that." And like the pep talk from the other guy is like, "Wait a minute, how do you know you're not the like main guy and he's the derivative?" That's sort of like the pep talk and stuff. Because yeah, they're actually doing another Spider-Verse, a smaller one right now called Spider-Geddon. I'm a little, not too interested in it, except of course for my beloved Spider-Gwen is in it.
So does he same type origin story?
That one they don't even really give much back. Like some of them are like already had existed in other media, or not other media, but in their own stories. This guy only appeared in this event, so I don't know. He's got weird pants on though. If you can probably find him in a image search if you type like Indian Spider-Man or whatever. Like he's got like weird I think like Aladdin pants. It's weird. It's like Spider-Man with Aladdin pants. But some of them, they do have origin stories and stuff because they already existed. Like obviously Spider-Man 2099, Spider-Man Noir, several more. Lady Spider, who's this 19th century steampunk version, who's a woman also. But yeah, I mean it's kind of cool, but I don't like certain ones winding up in the main universe because it waters it down. Like I know I've complained about this before, but I don't like that Miles Morales from the Ultimate Universe is now just in the normal universe. It means now there's two Spider-Men. Because diversity, and again, and I'm not one of those horrible, hateful comic gate people that are just like, oh, social justice warriors wording comics. Not at all. If anything deserves more diversity, it's absolutely comics. It makes more sense to me than anything else, to tell you the truth. I fully believe in the Marvel U being as diverse as possible. I just don't like taking an established character and then handing it over to like somebody new. I want diversity. Just make them new characters. That's all. That's my only gripe. Anyway, yeah, he's like Peter Packard Jew, or I don't know, something weird. And he doesn't have one of the better costumes. He looks ridiculous. But when you're drawing like several dozen Spider-Men, you do whatever you can to make them look different. They don't all have to be great. In fact, some of them are only there as fodder to get killed. There's like a cyborg one. He gets like his neck snapped right away.
I'm just saying, like from the waist up, he looks like regular Spider-Man.
Yeah, but then he has weird pants, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he lived. I'm pretty sure he didn't get killed. But he wasn't important either.
Told Uncle Bim I'd meet him at the station. Wait till he sees this.
Yeah, he has an Uncle Ben too.
Bim.
Oh, Ben. Yeah, there you go.
Or am I pronouncing that right? Is the B silent?
I don't know.
B-H-I-M.
Yeah, I think that's Bim.
That's funny.
If I had to guess. Yeah, it's just kind of funny though because he becomes somewhat self-aware because he says something like, "Oh, I'm just a derivative. I'm gonna get killed. This isn't about me." Well, one thing that is kind of interesting about the Spider-Verse event with the different versions of the spiders is it's not even just comic stuff. Like the '60s Spider-Man from the animated series, he's part of it. The current one from that Ultimate show, he's part of it. The little-known 1981 one where he was like super friends with Iceman and Firestar, and they all shared an apartment together. He was in it. Of course, he gets killed. They all get killed. Actually, it's very grisly. They all get killed. And they kind of point out how like his universe doesn't fit into it. There's even not in the main story, but it's a little offshoot. There's even a one where the guy that comes around and kills everybody, because the whole thing is there's these weird guys called the Inheritors, and for whatever reason that I'm not going to get into, they go from dimension to dimension, hopping and killing the spiders. They even hop into the news script one, the one that Stan Lee wrote all those years in the newspapers. He even hops into that one. And it's funny, too, because they make fun of a part where he starts repeating his own dialogue. He's like, I just wanted to have a picnic in the park with Mary Jane, or I don't know, something stupid. So yeah, that's a very kind of meta event, because it takes a look at all these different Spider-Mans and has them interacting with each other. And they point out stuff like the Ultimate Guy and the 60s guy, how they come from like lighter universes. Like they are like horrified by what the Inheritors do, because in their worlds, like the bad guys don't like fucking murder people.
Yeah.
Like they have no frame of reference for it. It's actually pointed out that they like can't even put it into words.
Wow.
Anyway, I guess we should wrap up.
Yeah.
A lot of extra content in that one, and probably a bit of rambling, but just because it's a fairly straightforward horror type movie. But we wanted to do some horror for the season. Next week, of course, will be November, so we'll push on in a completely new direction. But that doesn't mean there's probably still some other Asian horror that's worth getting into. Although I was thinking more of like something like I Saw the Devil or something like that. Some of that Korean stuff, like maybe serial killer stuff. There's some good stuff in there that we can delve into for sure. So that's certainly in the realm of possibility.
Yeah.
I think Jay and I, outside the channel, might just do a live stream tomorrow night just to talk about all things sort of Halloween. Nothing in particular. We don't have anything really planned, but we're hoping that maybe we can do that and just talk about various Halloween things, some memories of Halloween, some Halloween specials, movies, etc.
Sure.
Just we thought maybe just sort of a different kind of thing, just sort of a fun, lighthearted Halloween hangout type thing, I guess. So yeah, off the channel, you might want to check that out. Usually Jay hosts those things. Sometimes I host them, but usually off Jay's. And we put that on Twitter too. So as far as what next week's show is going to be, we don't know, but we will get off the horror train and into something else. So that doesn't go again. We weren't always doing straightforward horror anyway, so it could be a thriller. I don't know, But we're not doing a bunch of like Asian horror in a row or anything. We just did 2 in a row for the hell of it. But again, anything we've done before, we can certainly do again. It's not like we're always leaving it up behind forever. Just like we said with our series, like New Hollywood and The Masters, etc., etc. So the future's wide open. Sure.
Yeah.
So that was Shudder from 2004 and Thailand. A big important Thai movie. Certainly to me, probably the second Thai movie I saw after Ong Bak, and still I've only probably seen 6 or 7 Thai movies all time, really. So from what I hear, like there's not really any other Thai horror movies that can live up to this one, but I certainly wouldn't mind checking. I still keep meaning to watch those Oh My Ghost movies. There's all 4 of them are on my Netflix, and those are just comedy horror.
Yeah,
Asian comedy is always very interesting to me because it's different. But as far as that goes, I've always been a big fan of Stephen Chow and his Chinese stuff. Speaking of which, it's not one of the movies he directed, but he's an actor in a movie from '91 called something like Hey There, Officer, or something like that, where, I don't know, somebody plays like the ghost. It has to have a ghost. It's like the ghost of a cop that got killed, and he's trying to help these other cops like solve crimes or something. I don't know. Anyway, that's been on my Netflix list for a while. I'm going to check that out soon. It's not one Chow himself directed, but he acted in it. Not too long ago, I watched one of the ones he directed. Can't for the life of me remember what the hell it was called. It was kind of funny. What was really weird is that it came out in like '94, and it had like a Terminator 2 reference right off the bat. The whole thing where like they arrive in like lightning and they're like naked and they're posed that way, getting up. They do that right at the start of that movie. It's
That's
funny.
awesome.
There's nothing to do with anything. It's just there for the hell of it. Shit, what is that movie? It doesn't really matter. It's just he just plays some loser that winds up having to like learn kung fu from some weirdo so he can, you know, impress a girl. It wasn't bad. It was okay for what it was. Like Stephen Chow. He had an interesting career. So my point was, yeah, I do get a kick out of some Asian comedy, even though maybe I don't think it's funny for the same reasons, you know, that a Chinese person would. But still, it's odd and it's offbeat, and you can enjoy it. And sometimes the jokes are just so bad or out of place, you can't help but laugh at that. So, you know, I always had a lot of trouble like nailing tone. I remember when I was with my Chinese girlfriend, sometimes on her like iPad, she would like stream some sort of like comedy sketch type show.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it did have like subtitles, but none of it made any sense to me at all.
And,
I don't know what it was called. You could watch it on like YouTube and stuff like that, but I don't know what it was. But it was just craziness. I'm sure the subtitles weren't very good because they were kind of half-assed, so I don't think they told you much. But I don't know. It was weird.
Yeah, a lot of that comedy kind of goes over my head.
Yeah, it's not that it's not that it's complex or nuanced. It's just different. It's offbeat, I guess. Because yeah, some things are universally funny and people in every country can laugh at them. But other things, yeah, you know, if you're not from the area, you're just not going to get it. Some things.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Actually, what's funny is so another thing that showed up on Netflix that I watched just for that experience was there was some Netflix special by a Korean stand-up comic from South Korea. And I watched the whole thing, and it's not bad, except a lot of it is just him making references to people I don't know who the hell they are. Like, he's talking about various pop stars and politicians in Korea and stuff, and, like, I don't know who they are, so... Well, yeah, that's on there. One thing that's kind of interesting, though, that's kind of funny is, like, he makes this, like, fake kind of, like, Twitter internet thing that, like, interrupts him during his show, and, like, there's some, like, automatic voice comes on and then, like insults him. It's kind of funny. I can't remember what it's called, but he'll be like in the middle of a joke, and then all of a sudden, like the lights will dim and this music will play, and then the thing will like say like he's like a fucking cuck or something. So yeah, that's probably on your Netflix. I can't remember what it's called though. But maybe if you look under comedy specials, it's there. It's not bad. It's only about an hour long, but yeah, some of it was funny, and some of it I was just like, that might be funny if I knew who the hell these people were.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, as usual, I've strayed from the point. And the point is, we're finished up tonight. That was Devil's Night. If we don't see you, we wish you a very safe and happy Halloween. And we don't see you then. Yeah, we'll see you in November with something new and different. So that's going to do it. That's Jay. I'm Cole. And we thank you very much for watching. And we will see you all real soon. Peace. Have a good night.
Thanks, guys.